racing targets. All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. I want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun, enjoy the racing, take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden, and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great, cool league.
Mandar um abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil, continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Castro Neves, fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil!
Vamos lá.
Well, hello everyone, welcome to iRacing Brazil for the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series qualifying currently taking place here at Twin Ring Motegi. For those of you who don't know me, I normally do the coverage over at Glacier TV. Unfortunately, Glacier unable to provide coverage today, so I'm here with the guys who you know and love from iRacing Brazil. And Carlos, thank you very much for having me.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Will. And it's a pleasure to have you on board here to iRacing Brazil, and along with Glacier TV doing the broadcast here this morning. And let's see what's going to happen in Motegi, yeah?
So indeed, it's round 12 of the championship qualifying taking place at the moment. Ati Kirchhoff, the first driver, to complete a lap. That was in a time of 1 minute 26.043. Keeping an eye out, of course, on the big hitters. Hugo Luis hasn't yet gone out on the racetrack. Gregor Hutu hasn't even started his run yet. But Luke McLean has just gone fastest, 1/10 of a second faster than his teammate Kirchhoff.
Yeah, they play the chicken game kind of thing, you know. They say who's gonna be first at the track, like between Huto and Hugo Luis, you know. See, whoever comes first, they wait, and then they'll come and say, "I'll beat your time."
So currently having a look at Andre Borcher in the number 13 car. He sets his first lap, which is a 1 minute 26.763. Slow by him, but it does look as though he's carrying on for a second lap. So he's going to do all of his laps in one go, which is interesting for him. Borcher, say he's done one timed lap so far. Working himself right now up to the turn 4 right-hander. Very tricky corner. The track kind of falls away from you to try and get back underneath the power. As you go underneath the bridge, of course, you've got the oval on top of that as well. Sweeping the car then down into turn 5 and 6, right-hander. Before the S's, turn 7 and 8. And he's coming into turn number 8 right now. And it looks as though it's a good run for Borcher right now. Of course, everyone will be keeping an eye out on Borgia now to see what Hugo Luis will do in a couple of laps' time. We know normally Luis is about a tenth and a half faster than his teammates.
Another guy to look for it as well is Hugo Barbarossini, and he won the last race, and he's pumped up, and he's really wants to show some good things on Motegi today too.
Hugo Luis about to start his first lap of the day as he sweeps that car down into turn number 1. And Carlos, the last time we were here at Motegi, we've only been to Motegi once before. Hugo Luis won this race, and Atsi Kirchhoff came home in second position, and Hutu had to settle for third. So for Luis, it looks he's coming into this race with a lot of momentum, and he needs that to try and claw that gap back in the championship.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And for our viewers that keep eyes on Gregor Hutu and Hugo Luis, it's too bad that we don't have Martin Kronk along with us as well. Otherwise, it would be a fight for 4 guys basically fighting for distance championship. And Hugo Luis, I talked to Hugo Luis yesterday regarding Motegi qualifying time. He said the way the car is right now with the new build, it's very nervous, the car, for the qualifying trim. It's very hard to do a perfect lap, you know what I mean.
So, we're keeping it on at Hugo Luis, and that might be the reason why Andre Borgia just decided to do all of his laps at the same time. He has come back out onto the racetrack. He's doing one more lap, but we'll keep an eye out on Luis as he comes down into the last couple of corners, down into turn 12, 13, 14. What time will it be for Hugo Luis as he comes past the start-finish line? Will it be provisional pole position for the Brazilian? And the answer is no, he's third.
No.
Third, and that is surprising, but it looks as though that Borgia was going to try and do 2 laps in a row, and it looks like Luis is going to do exactly the same thing.
Exactly, that's what I just said. Because it's very hard to pull a perfect lap here in Motegi with this new build.
So, right now, your top 5. McLean is got provisional pole position. Atsi Kirchhoff, second. Hugo Luis, third. Jake Sturgis, fourth. Fulvio Barrazzini rounds out your top 5. It is all changing for Mogarfilo fans. He's moved up into 8th position for the time being, and he has done all of his laps. So that will be as fast as he will go, a 126.445 for him. But Luis, it looks as though he's going to pull that car off the racetrack, and he will have one more attempt. Of course, we need to keep an eye out on Gregor Hutu as well. He's coming down into turn number 10, and he's only got a couple of corners left. Will Hutu claim pole position? Because it does look as though that Hutu and the red line cars really have got good speed here today. Coming down the front straightaway, what time will it be for Gregor Hutu? Timing coming up on our screen now, a 125.817 for Hutu.
Wow, that's a close with the Luke McLean, wow.
Meanwhile, Jake Sturgis in that number 3 INX Racing car. Can he improve on what is currently 5th place for him? He's got himself about a 10th of a second to close up to the rear of Hugo Luis in that battle for 4th on the grid. Down into the final couple of corners, out of turn number 14, he comes very, very squirrely on exit. He'll come past the stripe, and what time will it be? And it's a 126.264 for Jake Sturgis, Carlos. He lost it all in that final corner because he almost spun that car.
Yeah, well, he lost at least 2 tenths there in the last corner with the car's very twitchy, as we mentioned a few times. The car, it is very nervous here for the qualifying trim at Motegi, so it's very, very tough for you to pull up a lap. So, in the meantime, I keep saying that I just saw here that I noticed Martin Kronk is back on the racetrack, so he's apparently in 7th as well. Huh?
Yeah, so for Martin Kronke, he has done 2 laps. As fast as he could go is a 126.3. So Kronke will be starting this race no higher than 7th position on the racetrack. You got Fulvio Barrazzini ahead of him, and Barrazzini has done all of his laps. Sturgis comes out. I think he's just doing a test start there, but Hugo Luis is the guy we're going to have to keep an eye out. He's working on his out lap at the moment. It's a big difference, however, and this is the biggest we've seen for a number of races. 2.5 tenths per second between Hutu in that number 1 machine and Hugo Luis in that number 2 My 3AD car.
Right.
keeping an eye out on Gregor Hutu. Go on.
Yeah, let's see. Hugo Luis probably going to start his flying lap right now. Let's see what's happening. He just make sure the tires is right in perfect order, and so he's just about to have a good exit of the start-finish line. That's what happened.
So Gregor Hutu's working himself down the back straight away. He's got himself one more lap to go. Hugo Luis is now down into turn number 1 for his final lap of the day. He's through turn number 1 and 2 nicely. He will work it down this second straightaway. A lot of straightaways at this racetrack. Very stop-starting places. Down into turn number 2 he comes. Nicely on the apex. He drifts the car to the curb, then back down to the inside for turn 3. Uses a lot of that exit car coming out of the corner. Now that short run down into turn number 4, the right-hander. You've got to be oh so careful. Nicely through the first couple of corners there, Carlos, and that for Hugo is a good start to his lap.
Yeah, it is. So far, so good. He's doing a little correction here and there, but it's a clean lap so far.
Down into the SEC goes, to keep an eye out. Let's say Miguel Fido has been dropped down into the 10th position for all of you Brazilian fans. It is still Huto from McLean, from Kirchhoff from Louise, from Sturgis, they are your top 5. Barazini, Cronke, Hapala, Baroni and Filo, they are your top 10 drivers. We have a total of 32 cars who have set themselves a qualifying time for the time being. Down onto the back straight away, Hugo Luis comes. He's got himself just the last couple of corners to go, but this is where you can throw it away. Down into turn number 11, 90-degree right-hander, nicely on the apex there. He'll flick the car now to the left-hand side, down into turn number 12. Once again into 13, flicks it right into 14, onto the front straight away, he will come.
Looks good.
What time will it be for Hugo Luis as he come past the stripe? Can he improve his time? The answer is, yes he can, but not improve his position. In fact, he was slower. I take that back, he was slower there by about 8 1,000ths of a second. Luis will start this race in 4th position. And Hutu, meanwhile, he comes out the final corner. He gets squarely on the exit, just like Sturgis did. Will he improve his time? No, he goes slower. And I tell you what, Hutu's lucky there. Like, he got that first lap so well, because his second lap was slower than both of the qualifying attempts for Hugo Luis. So Hutu lucky. He gets pole position. A storming time, however, 125.817. Luke McLean second, as results up on your screen. Atty Kirchhoff third, Hugo Luis fourth, Jake Sturgis in fifth, Fulvio Barazini 6th, Martin Cronke 7th, Ilka Hapala 8th, Rocco Baroni in 9th, and then Mogar Filo rounds out your top 10. 11 through 20, Yudan Rumi, Daniel Lopez, Matthias Egger, Ali Pactera, Andre Borcher, Stephen Michaels, Paul Ilbrink, Jeremy Boutaloop, Dion Verges, and Timo Evenham. And Pablo Lopez, disappointing qualifying for him, Carlos, all the way down in 24th position, just ahead of Ben Cornett.
Yeah, I spoke with Pablo a couple of days ago, and he basically, I mean, all the drivers basically saying the same thing. Pablo Lopes looking for his race setup. He works very, very hard this weekend for his race trim. So I can see Pablo Lopes coming from the back, and he has a good car for the race, so he don't mind about the qualifying right now. And so he's looking forward to the race himself to kind of improve his position, because apparently he's in 30th or so in the championship, and there's about 4 or 5 guys in the bubble there for the top 25 spots. So it's going to be very tough for those guys that are on the back there to kind of make sure they're going to race next year.
João Pinot, the slowest guy in qualifying in that number 49 machine, a 128.178. A little over 2.3 seconds separates the field, but it's the names we expected to see up front. But Team Redline, especially in qualifying, looked strong. We have seen before that just because you're strong in qualifying doesn't mean that you'll be as good in the race. And for Luis, he might have to try and do something a little bit differently now. Perhaps go in very heavy fuel and hope that he can outpit the guys ahead of him.
Yeah, that bite him one time when he tried to do that, and Gargahut went for 2 stops and he came out ahead. So that's a very tough call here at Motegi. But on the other hand, Gargahut is going to start in 4th place, which is really not so bad here at Motegi. If you look, he's going to be the 2nd car in line anyway. So if he has a good start, because usually, as you saw on the previous racers, Gargahut is not that really good to. His get off is not really so good compared to Hugo Luis. And Atsi Kerkov still starts really good. So I'm kind of see what's gonna happen at the start because Hugo Luis coming from the behind Greg Ahut, let's say, if he has a good start, he can have a chance to be in second, also on the first corner, you know.
Indeed, Kirchhoff, one of the best starters in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Of course, Luke McLean will be hoping that he has a much better start to his race than he did 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis when he was pretty much out at the first corner of the race, taking out Abe, who's just gone to the race lead down into turn 1.
Yeah, right. And Narumi, the Japanese driver, and 11th place, it's kind of pretty good for him at his home track. If you look at it, okay, I am on my home track, and so I'm top 10 almost, so he's doing pretty good too.
So we got ourselves a little over 15 minutes before we get set to go racing. Of course, this is the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We've got a replay of your pole lap now on the screen, and for Hutu there, that pole lap, it was pretty much as good a lap as you could have. You didn't miss an apex at all. You talked about how nervous this car is, especially when you try and get onto the power. We also know as well, of course, Motegi, the way that the tarmac's composed is different to what we're used to at, for example, European or North American tracks, so that makes it slippy anyway. Hutu's car did seem perfectly nailed in that qualifying lap. The important thing is, however, we know that the red line guys aren't always as strong on cold tyres.
It is, though. But let's talk about something else as well. That we know that the version 5 of the new tire model is coming for the next race, which is going to be in. I believe the next race it's where is the next race? I kind of forgot. Zandvoort. So it's going to be like a very tricky track there for the new tire model. People's going to be start practicing and put some laps because they want to see if this new tire model is going to be the car less twitch, you know, because the way the car is right now, it is very, very nervous. So let's see what happens.
Indeed. So big update coming in exactly 2 weeks' time to the car. Next time that the World Championship Series will be on air at Zandvoort, 2 weeks. Expect a very different feel to these cars. We've heard a lot of things about this new tyre build. It will be coming to the drivers in the next week or so, and then they'll be really testing up until then. A couple of drivers who's caught my, who's caught my name. Hutu Kirchhoff Louise, for example, they didn't race 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis. Hutu, I mean, he's starting a pole position, but he still needs to make sure that he gets himself at least a top 2 finish because he now doesn't have the benefit of a fallback of a drop week.
Yeah, and so does Hugo Luis, so does Atsi Kerkov. They kind of went to the World Championship Series chat and racing, and apparently Hutus probably said, "Oh yes, but guys, I'm going to stay out for this race because I don't feel that the car is good," and blah blah blah. So Hugo Luis did the same, and Atsi Kerkov did as well the same. But in the meantime, I even thought that a lot of people is going to be doing that. You say, "Oh, we're not going to race." But for the people that's behind, they say, "You know what? I'll take my chances and I'll race and I'll get some points. Maybe I'll get a couple of positions ahead." You know.
Indeed, and of course, Fulvio Barazini was a big beneficiary there, getting his first victory, the first victory for an Italian in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. To run through your top 10 in points, it is Gregor Hutu. He still leads the championship with 450 points. Hugo Luis is got 361 points. Atsi Kirchhoff, 315. Jake Sturgis, 237 points. And then Fulvio Barazini in the 5th position, now just 7 points behind him after Sturgis had a horrible race just 2 weeks ago. In fact, 4 weeks ago at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And then you have behind him Stephen Michaels, Martin Patila, Martin Conke, Luke McLean, and Mo Garfilo rounding out your top 10. And it's still very close there around where Mo Garfilo is. He's got Ilka Hapala just 5 points behind him. But if he can get a good finish here today, and if McLean has any issues, he's not that far away from the likes of McLean, Conke, and even Martin Patila.
Right, and if you see the Mo Garfilo before the last race, because the reason the Hutu, Hugo, and Atsi didn't race, so Mo Garfilo had a really, really good finish, and so he jumped maybe 5 positions in this championship for just for one race because of the other drivers that sit for that race. So he got now top 10.
And Barazini, that win for him, that moved him up the championship as well. And they say he's so close to the rear of Jake Sturgis. He's had a bad couple of races. And it would be really impressive if Barazini can get ahead of Sturgis in the championship. Let's not forget, Sturgis historically has always finished within the top 3 or 4 drivers in this series.
Yeah, well, Sturgis, it's I always said to people because the way Sturgis drives, he's not very fast compared to the guys that runs in the front, but he's very consistent. His race trim, the way he races, he picks positions slowly. He picks one position here, another one in there, and by the end of the race, he finishes good. That's why he's got all these points. I mean, he's doing really good for a 4th place. It's very respectable. If you think that all the drivers that races on the WCS, they're all champions on their own rights. I mean, they're all very fast to be there, you know, and to be top 4 in the whole world. The race is it's a very good accomplishment, you know.
And we'll turn our attention to the bottom end of the top 25. Of course, for those of you who are new to the World Championship Series, the top 25 will retain their license for next year. All the guys behind them will have to re-qualify for their license in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Now, you've got Dion Vergez, he's got 95 points. He's in 24th. Alexei Usiakola, 91 points in 25th. And then in the 26th position, Marcus Caton with 90 points. Timo Evening in 27th, 88th. Christian Lorette with 84. Ben Cornette, 83. Pablo Lopez, 80 points. And then you've even got guys like Petru Kotavara, Andrew Sacom, and Paul Ilbrink, who could theoretically all have a great battle for that 25th position. So you've got 10 guys fighting essentially for 4 spots.
Right, and that's going to be very tough for those guys. They're going to be racing, never mind, they're going to be racing to win, not to win the race, but to win the spot for 25th position. So between them, they say, okay, man, they're going to just see the people who's in front of me. They're going to be interested. Never mind if I'm in the position that 10, 50, whatever position that you are. You're just going to be looking to be ahead of that guy, just to make an extra position to make sure you're going to be in the top 25 on the end of the run.
So, we've got ourselves, say, about 15 minutes until lights go out for the World Championship Grand Prix Series here at Motegi. And things to talk about in this race, of course, passing can be difficult, but you've got 2 good passing opportunities down into turn number 11 and also down into turn number 1 as well. So you can pass here, but these guys, this is one of those races where strategy could really play a big difference. 64 laps, so some guys might be thinking 1 stop, some guys 2 stops.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to call, especially the guys that's going to start from the back. Let's say if I was Pablo, let's say for instance, and I know I need a good finish, I would do a very long first stint and make sure that the people, you know, if the people that's going to make a mistake in front of him, or the people that's going to come out of the track or something for whatever they shoot with the contact or not, and try to accomplish like more, to try to get more positions through it. If you go very heavy and be consistent, you know, just picking people up, and maybe you finish good on the end of the run, you know. I think that's the way it is. And the people in the front, if they want to go very fast, they're probably going to go 2 stops, you know.
2 stops, 1 stops. So much to play for here at Twin Ring Motegi. Of course, this racetrack, a touch under 3 miles in length, 14 corners in total. And this track opened in 1997. It was developed by the Honda Corporation, who essentially wanted to test out engines for their impending move to IndyCar back in the mid-1990s. It's got itself a 1.5 mile egg-shaped oval, famous perhaps for Danica Patrick winning her first and only ever IndyCar race, the first race for a woman in an open-wheel top-level series. And of course, the 14-car racetrack as well, holding many different events over the year. Track was slightly damaged after the tsunami in Japan a couple of years ago. The oval is yet to be fully rebuilt. Of course, the road track is now back fully operational. And this track overall, it kind of stop-start in some places, but then you've got those sweeping corners with turns 7, 8, and 9, In the last couple of corners as well, you've got to be very, very careful because there's only really one line through there, and also pit exit, pit entry even. You almost just go straight on to come onto pit road. It can be very, very scary if you've got a car ahead of you trying to turn into turn 12 and you're going straight on.
Yeah, I even thought about that when you were saying that, and because it is very tricky there, because people are gonna start to get their own racing line if they not enter the pits, of course. And meanwhile, the guys behind you say, "Hey, I want to enter as fast as I can to kind of save an extra second, maybe leapfrog a guy here or there for the actual stop, you know." And so it's gonna be unique. And talking about the oval, as you said, as you mentioned on twin rigging Motegi. I think it's the first oval and road course combination that the actual racetrack doesn't reach the oval, if you know what I mean. The road track doesn't use the oval track, and the oval track, of course, doesn't use the road course. It's like having two racetrack in ones, you know.
Yeah, first racetrack to properly do that even in the world. Separate pit entry, separate pit exit, separate pit box and pit lane areas, all together completely different. And what that means is that you have got a true oval and a true road course. It's not like Indianapolis, for example, where we were 2 weeks ago, where the characteristics of the racetrack are defined by the oval in which it sits.
Yeah, as well as the Daytona as well. You know, Daytona, which is, I love that racetrack, Daytona. It's beautiful. And but they use like the road and the oval combinations, you know. And Motegi is about 90 miles from Tokyo. They're like one of the biggest city in Japan, you know.
It is, and it's a beautiful racetrack, set high above ground. The important question is, of course, for all the people watching today, who do you think will take victory? Because you've really got, once again, 4 guys who's got a shot at winning. Hutu, of course, leading the red line charge. We've seen before that the red line guys will split their strategies to ensure that they can stay ahead of the My 3AD driver of Hugo Louise. So McLean or Kirchhoff can, in theory, leapfrog Gregor Hutu. But of course, Hugo Louise still got a good chance starting from that 4th position. And arguably, Jake Sturgis in 5th as well.
Yeah, but I think Gregor Hutu, this race, he's gonna be going forward. I don't think he's gonna let Hugo. Hugo, you're not gonna win again. You know, like he say, I'm gonna win this one, man. Like, I mean, first of all, as we know, who won this race last year was Hugo Louise. So now Gregor Hutu is kind of, yes, I want a win at Motegi, you know, so he wants to win for sure.
And that will be important for the championship, because right now, if Louise wins every single race, he will just about catch up to the rear of Hutu if Hutu doesn't finish second in every one of the remaining races. Hutu wins here today, it means that he's really going to have a big issue. He's going to fall out. He's going to have to finish outside the top 10 to allow Louise to close enough points up to win this championship. So this is a big race for Hutu today.
It is a big race, and especially when you come up with back markers or so. I mean, Gregor Hutu is a guy that always is very focused when he's racing. You don't see Gregor Hutu going off here or there. He's very focused. But let's say if the lap driver, or who knows, maybe they fighting for position when Gregor Hutu's probably gonna lap this guy, and if you don't watch, because Formula One, as the car is very nervous, so you can get a little contact here and there, and maybe let's say if he drops the race for some reason, and there has the chance to Hugo and get ahead on the points, you know.
Don't forget, keep in contact with us on Twitter all race long. You can use the hashtag iRacingWCS. Let us know your thoughts on YouTube as well. We'd love to hear what you have to say. People saying that Hutu's going to dominate here today. People cheering, of course, also for Pablo Lopez. You can see his live stream on YouTube as well. Pablo, he had a great start at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago. He'll be looking for another one of those here today.
Yeah, and I like to mention, because I was very surprising about Alex Eloma and Neil Spindle, because those drivers, those 2 drivers especially, they are very fast. But they're sitting like 38 and 39 in the championship. I don't see why, because I was expecting Alex Eloma and Emil Spindle, because they are very fast, to be in front, you know? Like, I mean, maybe fighting for top 10 or so on the championship, don't you think?
Yeah, I think a couple of guys were really surprised at the way that that's worked out over the course of this year. Loma is one of those drivers. Of course, we had Martin Kroenke who had to take a bit of a sabbatical. Alexei Usiakola, he couldn't race the entire season. He would have been right up there. But on the flip side of that, there's a couple of drivers who really have shone this year. Fulvio Barazini is one of them, and Stephen Michaels, another guy who's really been, taken over their challenge and has got themselves into the top 10 in the championship.
Yeah, Steve Michael, he's sitting 6th, and wow, that's very good for Fulvio about his last win. It moved him all the way up to 5th place, so those guys really fighting for podium, if you know what I mean. If something happens, let's say, to Atsi, because we have to think about that as well. Who's going to be in top 3 on the championship? Atsi is firm right there and with 315 points. But if you make a couple of mistakes here and there, Jake Sturgeon can get that podium, or maybe Fulvio Barazini, or even Stephen Michael. I mean, Stephen Michael a little bit further behind, but you have to realize that they really looking for that third spot too on the championship,
And that battle is going to be incredibly interesting over the next couple of rounds as well. Less than 10 minutes to go for this race. It's a long race here, 64 laps as well. We haven't talked about that. This is one of the more demanding races of the year. You talked about in qualifying how the car, it can be very nervous, very difficult to drive. But that applies to the race as well, especially on cold tyres at the start of the run. And I think that'll be the perfect opportunity for guys like Pablo, who's qualified down the field, to gain up a number of positions in this race. Because at the end of the day, the first couple of laps can be incredibly interesting here today.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta make sure that you keep your nose clean, keep your 4 wheels on the car, and gotta be very smart for the first couple of laps, because we have. I mean, when you talk about Formula One. Real Formula One drivers, I mean the real Formula One, we have 24 drivers, and when you see they taking off 24 drivers, it's very exciting for the first couple laps. Imagine 35 guys starting a Formula One race, so it's like it's very unique to see the 35 guys on a Formula One car taking turn 1, let's say, or the first couple laps. It's pretty unique.
More coverage to come. The race is a little over 5 minutes away here on iRacing Brazil. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hugo Luiz. Carioca, 19 anos. Campeão mundial em 2011 e vice-campeão em 2012. Mogar Filho. Paulista, 31 anos. Vice-campeão da Pro Series em 2012. Em 2013, os brasileiros Hugo Luiz e Mogar Filho virão com tudo em busca do prêmio de $10 mil. Todas as emoções do campeonato virtual mais disputado do mundo, você assiste aqui no iRacing Brasil. Sim, Brasil.
So welcome back then to live coverage of the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here from Twin Ring Motegi. Wilmington along with Carlos Pazos as we bring you coverage of this 64 lap race. 2.98 miles is this Motegi racetrack, 14 corners in total. iRacing Brazil bringing you live coverage of this race. Unfortunately, no coverage from Glacier TV today, which is why we have this race here in English. And I tell you what, Carlos, these guys on the racetrack, on their first laps out in traffic, they are really struggling in the last couple of corners of this racetrack. I was having a look at Oli Paquera and Miguel Martin just there.
Yeah, man. Wow, I got the shivers on my spine, you know, to be honest. I really do. I'm very, very excited today for this race, and it's a very important race for a lot of people, and it's gonna be tough the first couple of laps, man. It's gonna be very tricky with this car, you know.
For those of you who are just joining us, your grid is as follows. Gregor Hutu, pole position, a time of 1 minute 25.817. Luke McLean will start in row number 1 alongside him. Atsi Kirchhoff and Hugo Luis in row 2. Jake Sturgios and Fulvio Balzini in the 3rd row of the grid. Martin Conke, Ilka Hapana, row 4, and then Rocco Barone and Mo Garfilo round out your top 10 drivers. Very, very close from about 5th place all the way down to about 15th position on the racetrack. Not much separating these drivers at all. And a lot of guys already trying practice starts. In fact, right now, you have Hugo Luis trying to do a practice start on the racetrack. And he did about 4 attempts there just to see how much you can push it without that car going sideways on him.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that you have your plans together, your starts together, the way you're gonna be doing your first pit. You have to really decide, because today, for a lot of guys, it's gonna be a very, very important race, and as the car being very tricky to drive right now. So especially for, if you look on the other hand too, Gregor Hutu, Atsi and Hugo Luis, because they didn't race for the last race, they sit for the right race. I don't know how much practice they had, because on the meantime, the other guys who already raced the car the way the car was tricky to drive for the last race anyway, so they had more practice, race trim, race ready, compared to Gregor Hutu, Atsi and Hugo, you know?
Completely agree. So much could happen in the next 64 laps. We've got a minute left of practice, but outside of those top 4 drivers, who are you keeping your eye out on today here, Carlos?
Well, I'm looking for Atsi. He's kind of guy to the King leapfrog Gregor to the start, and if Atsi in the front, he's going to stay on the front. So I can say that Atsi has a good chance to win this race today. And Luke McLean, I don't know if I should say that, but Luke McLean is a beautiful, awesome drive. He's a classic. He's a guy who's name on the iRacing for a very long time. But he seems to be losing his temper sometimes during the race, and he makes a couple of mistakes here and there. If he puts his head down and really think about the whole long run, he'll do good, so he might win this race, you know?
So, 15 seconds to go before the checkered flag waves for the end of practice. We're going to get ourselves down to the grid. 64 laps is this race. It's an iRacing Brazil Glacier TV special. Thank you very much to all the guys over at iRacing Brazil for ensuring as many fans as possible can watch this, the 12th round of the championship. An important race for Gregor Hutu. If he wins today, it's a good chance that he will cement his charge for his 3rd championship crown. Hugo Luis starting 4th. He's got to try and get himself to the front of the field, but he's got 2 other Team Redline cars who will be in his way. Luke McLean in that number 24 car. He had a disastrous start at Indianapolis a little over 2 weeks ago. And then Atsi Kirchhoff in that number 5 car. We know how good he can be at the start, and he really could throw a spanner into the works of Hugo Luis. The guys are lining themselves up on the grid at the moment. We're going to go racing, as say, for 64 laps in this, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, on Twitter, use the hashtag iRacingWCS. Let us know your thoughts on YouTube as well as to who you think you want to see win this race, and also who you're cheering for as well. We'll read out some of the best over the course of this broadcast. Your top 10, one more time, it is Gregor Hutu from Luke McLean, from Atsi Kirchhoff, from Hugo Luis, from Jake Sturgios, Fulvio Balzini, Martin Cronke, Ilka Hapana, Rocco Barone, Mo Garfilo. They are your top 10 The light about to go on. The iRacing.com gantry getting set to go racing any moment now.
Green,
and it's
green.
lights out. Here we go. And it's a good start, actually, by Kirchhoff. It's also a good start by Gregor Hutu, but one guy's in trouble. That's Hugo Luis. Almost gets run over by Martin Kroenke, and Jake Sturgis is up into the 4th position. Luis is down into the 5th spot. Martin Kroenke falls in behind him. We're having a look to see. We've got a couple of drivers off. Daniel Lopez off into turn number 1. We'll get an update on that at the moment. We've got another guy off. That is Dion Burgess as well on the exit of turn number 1. Ilka Hapada out of the race very early, and Timo Weaver looks like he is out as well. Your top 2 drivers, Gregor Hutu, Luke McLean, they are pulling the early advantage. Ati Kirchhoff in 3rd, but importantly, Carlos, it is Jake Sturgis now up into the 4th position, and Hugo Luis is down into 5th.
Wow, what a start, man, here to turn 1, what a start. So Jake Sturgis now, and Hugo Luis had a really bad takeoff as well, so it stays the way it was, you know, like for the first 4 places, and Jake Sturgis now in 5th, so it's very cool. But feel really sorry for Fu Barosini and Hyundai Narumi, and then his own racetrack is really having a bad start.
Yeah, Ilka Hapada and Fulvio Barosini were the first 2 cars to come together on this front straightaway as they all tried to jostle for position down into turn number 1. And then you had the number 15 car, Daniel Lopez, get involved in the action. Yudan Arumi then gets flipped upside down into turn number 1. Matthias Egger comes into contact with him. Looks like Egger is able to carry on. And then you had another car involved in it as well, and that was Fabio Di Carmo. So a lot of incidents early on in this race, but to keep an eye out in that battle out front as they work on lap number 2, it is Hutu right now with a 0.7 gap over Luke McLean, who in turn has a 1.5 second gap over Ati Kirchhoff. Sturgis in 4th, Luis in the 5th position, Martin Kroenke in 6th, and they already are very separated on the racetrack. And this right now is exactly what Hutu wants, because he already has a 4-second gap over his championship rival.
Wow, you know who's the big winner of this so far? Pablo Lopes is the bigger one. He jumped from 24th, now he's sitting in 15th position in 1 lap, so
just like at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, a good start there for Paycheck Lopez in that number 9 Radical Steel Series car. Keep an eye out on Martin Kroenke, and he has fallen back a little bit on this lap from the rear of Hugo Luis, and is under big pressure right now from Rocco Baroni in that number 62 machine. The Italian hot on the tail of Martin Kroenke as he works themselves down the back straightaway once again, down into turn number 11. Baroni's looking to the inside. He's not going to be close enough, but Kroenke, a slow start by him, really puts him down the order, and he's having to defend quite heavily from Baroni early on.
Yeah, Matthias Egger was clawing here. It's back stretch, and he called it a quit. So I think he's done for the day.
Timo Evening, Daniel Lopez, Ilka Hapada, Barosini all out the race, as is Fabio Di Carmo, Yudan Arumi as well, and Bootaloo, he might have jumped the start as well. But out front, it is still Hutu leading the way. 1.3 seconds is that gap right now. We're getting word as well that Richie Stanaway Richie Stanaway, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, Richie Stanaway is out of the race. He's only done 2 laps, and that means in total all season long he's only been able to complete 3 laps on that Team Redline car. I'm having looked at exactly what happened to him, and he gets involved in an incident somewhere. I believe this is down in turn number 11 or 12. Yeah, out of the final corner. Stanaway's out of the race. That's disappointing for the Pro Series champion. He was on the outside there, one of the TNT cars, with Troy Schultz. The two came together. Stanaway got onto that curb on the exit of the corner, turned Schultz around.
Yeah, on the Rich Stanaway case was because he's racing live. So he's doing his own races and so he's not really racing the championship here in WCS. So I don't think he's worrying about this year period. So he doesn't have time to do all the races, and that's what's happening with him. But now, if you look at Ben Cornette, that's one of the veterans. Ben Cornette and Pablo Lopes going at it, huh?
Yeah, and this is the battle right now for 13th position on the racetrack. Last time by, Lopez did himself a 129.8. Ben Cornette a 129.5. It is the red line driver of Ben Cornette looking to have his best finish of the season. Currently working on that 13th position, and Lopez in 12th. And it does look as though that Cornette really has got a lot of grip on that red line car. Don't forget, he is a teammate to the guys running up front, and also
he's looking for his side.
He's looking down to the inside. He will complete that pass down into turn 4. Also, Luke McLean has dropped well down the order, and McLean is now behind these guys, and he's also trying to make the move on Pablo Lopez as they come down into the S. He will complete that pass there. Lopez thinks, I'm not going to go too wide through the S's. Luke McLean is up a position, but something's happened to Luke McLean. He's dropped well down the standings.
You see, that's what I said on the beginning. Usually Luke McLean doesn't start that good, and I don't know if he's he never have that clean starts. He's making his way back to the front again. And Pablo Lopes, I don't think he has any problem, but I think Pablo Lopes, as I said, I think he's very heavy on field. That's why the guys made a head on him because he's kind of heavy on field, you know.
Indeed, and to give you an update on Luke McLean, he actually got a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, and he's now been able to get himself ahead of Ben Cornette. So the two Australian-New Zealand drivers have switched positions in this last lap. Cornette now down into the 13th position, Luke McLean up into the 12th position on the racetrack, and Luke McLean is closing down right now Paul Ilbrink and Andre Borcher in that battle for 10th and 11th position on the racetrack. But out front, Hutu now with a 5.3 second lead over Ati Kirchhoff. It does look as though that Hutu might be on a two-stop strategy already. He's coming up to lap traffic of Fulvio Barazini, who's had his worst race in a number of rounds. But it does look as though Hutu, he might definitely be on a shorter strategy than Kirchhoff, currently sat in second right now.
Yeah, so does Hugo Luis. If you see Hugo Luis never being 8 seconds behind Hutu, they always, even though if he wasn't fourth, he would be closer. But I think Greg Hutu is a total different strategy from Hugo Luis and Ati Kirchhoff, you know. Even Martin Kronk too, he's a very fast driver. He's 10 seconds behind Greg Hood, so they obviously in one-stop strategy.
Yep, Kirchhoff in second, and Sturgis in third, Hugo Luis in fourth, Martin Kronk fifth. To run through the rest of your top 10, it's Rocco Barone still all over here on Martin Kronk. As they come down into turn number 1, Barone still doesn't try and make that pass down into the first corner. Mo Garfido, he's up into the 7th position after starting this race in 10th. Oli Pactira is now down into the 8th position. Stephen Michaels 9th, and Andre Borcher rounds out your top 10. A lot of retirees early on. In fact, we have Fulvio Barazini back onto pit road, and Andrew Com is out of the race, as well as Matthias Egger, Troy Schultz, Richie Stanaway, Yudan Arumi, Fabio De Carmo, Ilka Hapala, Daniel Lopez, Timo Evenon. So a lot of retirees early on, and actually that will help out the leaders as they come to lap traffic, because it is a short lap time here. They didn't want to get involved in too much lap traffic.
Well, do we have enough people that's already off of the track? Unbelievable the way we lost drivers. We lost way too many drivers on those very first couple of laps. Wow. In the meantime, Team Radicals has 3 cars here doing really good, which is Morgan Filho, Paul Ilbrink, and Pablo Lopes, and respectively top 14 for 3 drivers on the Radicals, you know? Very good.
Yeah, they really are doing well, the Radical Steel Series cars right now. We are going on board, giving a quick look at this racetrack. And I'll tell you what though, that battle still with Rocco Barone and Martin Kronke, that continues to develop him. Barone does look as though he is a little bit faster than Martin Kronke ahead of him, but his straight line speed of Barone means just he doesn't close up enough on the front stretch to try and make that pass into the first corner. And he's really starting to hurt now, being sat behind Martin Kronke, who I have to say is definitely on a lot heavier strategy than the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, another thing that I like to point here as well is for the iRacing World Championship Series, they use a Formula 1 car, but it's like it's one car for everybody. So the viewers that probably don't know that we don't have different cars that say, oh, this car is stronger than the other car. They all got the same equipment for everybody. It's just the drivers and the setup of the car that makes you ahead, or you can make you a little back on the field, you know. This is very interesting because everybody's got the same car, you know.
Everyone's got the same car, of course. They work on their own setups and they try and get as much as they can. But I tell you what, still battles going on the racetrack. And what's keeping you right now, Carlos?
Well, I'm watching here Rocco and Martin Grump. They look very interesting right now because they are on a good pace now. They doing pretty good. Let's see what's gonna happen ahead. But they racing very clean, and I like the way they see the cars not glitchy, but their cars are very subtle. So this becomes to the race setup. They really tried the race setup. A lot of people, as I said, they don't care about the qualifying as much as they care the racing trim for the car, you know.
Working ourselves right now then on lap number 8 of 64 here at Twin Ring Motegi, and I'm still keeping an eye out on that battle for Perone and Cronke, but behind them the action continues to develop as well, and I'm having a look. Field's starting to get a little bit more spread out, but that battle with McLean, you've got to keep an eye out on him because he's closing up to the rear of Stephen Michaels. And Luke McLean last time by a 1:27.7. He is a lot faster than Michaels ahead of him.
Well, he's like he probably in a two-stop strategy, and he made a mistake on the first corner, on the first lap. Let's say on the first corner, first lap, and now he's gotta make out this time. And because if he is lighter, let's say if he is on two-stop strategy, he's gotta go ahead, man. He's gotta go for it, you know. Otherwise, he's gonna be really on the back of the field, you know.
And he's right up to the rear of Stephen Michaels now. That gap is just 3 tenths of a second on the racetrack as they work themselves down into the hairpin of turn number 10 once again. And in fact, McLean's going to try and go down the inside before they even get onto the straightaway. He will complete that pass easily there on Stephen Michaels. And now he'll be trying to close up to the rear of Oli Paquera as they work themselves down into turn number 11 once again on the racetrack. Oli as well is not that far behind Mo Garfido. Just 1 second separates those guys on the racetrack. And McLean, in the meanwhile, you can just see how fast that red line car is. If he hadn't jumped the start, he would have been right there with Futu, I think, at this point in the race. Because as McLean comes past the stripe for him, so 1:27.7, he's the second fastest guy on the racetrack right now. But then I compare that to Hutu. Hutu's half a second faster that last time by.
Yeah, Hutu's flying right now, and so is Luke McLean. I mean, you see that Stephen Mike, when Luke McLean showed the inside, Stephen Michael, it didn't really fight for it because say, you know what, I know you are lighter than I am, so there's no point for me to hold you up by any means, you know. So he just flew by and say see you later, and but he's gotta go ahead, Luke McLean, if he wants to show a top 3 here, you know.
Indeed, and he is charging right now. He's closed that gap to Oli Parker and Lara by already 1 second in what, half a lap alone. As they come down into turn number 9 once again, of course. Turn 10 is where he made that pass just 1 lap ago, and Stephen Michaels, he won't be close enough this time. But McLean has so much good grip at this portion of the racetrack as they come down almost into the rear of Oli there. As they come out of the corner, he'll now get that slingshot down the back straightaway. So they come down into turn number 11. Will McLean try and slow it down the inside? He's already looking to the right. He'll have to dart back into line. And McLean was so fast there, Carlos, that he actually had to get out of the gas because he almost run over the rear of Oli ahead of him.
Yeah, well, what he tried to do there on that back stretch there was to have a good exit, which it didn't happen because the guy was right there, so he didn't have enough momentum, let's say, to accomplish the pass, but now he did it.
Now he completes that pass down into turn number 1. His next victim will be Mo Garfido in the number 27 machine. And Mo Gar's had a good race. He started, of course, in 10th, now running in that 7th position, but McLean is still lap on lap, at least a second a lap faster than Mogar, and he'll probably be overtaken within the next half a lap or so.
Oh yeah, for sure, that's for certain. And Mogar, as we know, Mogar is a very smart driver. He is looking for his mirror right now. He's getting really full with Luke McLean, like the car is getting closer as they are peers, you know. So he say, okay, Luke McLean, you can go ahead with your race because I have my race to race for.
So keeping an eye out on that battle right now, which is developing for now 7th position on the racetrack. Mo Garfido and Luke McLean. This is the corner that McLean is oh so good at. Again, he's going to try and slow it down to the inside. In the middle of the corner, he gets a good run off the corner. Oh, yeah. He's just 2 tenths per second behind Mogar. He'll come down to the inside. He will complete that pass pretty easily down into turn number 11. And easily done there by Luke McLean. Mogar doesn't defend it too heavily. falls down into the 8th position on the racetrack. Ahead of them, however, Baroni and Kroenke still battling for position. I have to say, though, that I think if Baroni wasn't stuck behind Kroenke, he would be a much faster right now.
Okay, I tell you what, Bill. Okay, he passed Mogar Filho alright, and now he's looking at Rocco and Martin Kroenke. It's not gonna be as easier as I'm telling you. When you get close to the front, the people that are on the front, they don't like to give up position. So I think Luke McLean is gonna have to fight for the next couple of positions ahead.
Indeed, yeah, and the gap between them right now on the racetrack is about 1.2 seconds, so he won't close up to them this lap, but McLean last time dry did a 128.2, Rocco Baroni did a 129.1, stuck behind Martin Kroenke. If Baroni's lucky, he might be able to sweep past Kroenke at the same time as McLean goes past him. If he can get him offline, that could be a good opportunity for Baroni to try and get past him. But right now, McLean's already closed that gap by half a second through the sweeping S's. They'll now come down as that back straightaway once again. Already he's in draft range, 7/10 of a second between Baroni and McLean as they come down into 11 once again. To run for your top 5 very quickly, it's Hutu from Kirchhoff, from Sturgis, from Louise, from Kroenke, and then we're looking at that battle for the 2 cars behind, Rocco Baroni and Luke McLean as they come down into turn 12, 13, 14 once again. We're going to get a good confirmation of the lap time as they come past the stripe once again. What time will it be from Luke McLean? Is it faster? 127.2 there for Luke McLean compared to 128.7. McLean is the second fastest guy in the race. He's only a 10th of a second slower than Gregor Hutu right now.
Yeah, they both are the same strategies for sure. But as I said, he getting close to Rocco, but now I think it's going to be very tough to pass Rocco and to pass Martin Kroenke. I think it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. He's going for it, but it's not going to be easy.
If he can get a good run out of this turn 4, he can get a good preliminary to that as they come through turn 5 and 6 on the racetrack. Already he's looking all over the place trying to see if he can go anywhere. He really does lose a lot of time behind these 2 cars into the S's. Now he'll come down into turn number 8 once again, and then into turn number 9. And again, turn 10's been his big plus point. Now he's just got to make sure he gets a good run through turn number 10. That long, look at that, he's already going down into the inside.
Ballsy, man. Wow.
That is one of the biggest dives I've seen all season. It didn't work out for him, and in fact he loses about 2/10 of a second because he just couldn't get on the gas properly.
Well, he was very he said okay, it didn't work at all. He was very optimistic on that. It didn't work at all. Let's see now if he's got a good get off of this before the straightaways. Let's see now. I don't think he'll be able to pass now.
No, he was very bad there over the final corner.
He was very twitching there.
Keep an eye out behind, ahead of them, by the way. Hugo Luis's lap times 128.5. Jake Sturgis' lap times are 128.1. Ati Kirchhoff a 1 minute 27.4. Gregor Hutu a 1 minute 27.133. So clearly Luis is on a very heavy strategy, but it doesn't look as though it's going to work out for him because already on lap 13 he's 20 seconds behind Hutu, and a pit stop here takes about 23-24 seconds. So already Hutu's going to have a pit stop in hand by the time we get to about lap 20.
Yeah, you see, by the time Luke McLean clear all those drivers, his strategy is not going to work anymore, that's for sure. He's gonna have to change his strategy, to be honest. He's going to have to change this strategy. Make his second stint maybe longer or so, you know?
Yep, he has of course got past one of those two drivers. He's now going to try and get, he's got past Baroni. He's now just got to try and get past Martin Kroenke again. Down the inside, he tries to go into turn 10. Now he gets a good drive. Now he'll go down to the inside and he will complete that pass on Martin Kroenke pretty easily there, down into turn number 11. And that's a big shame for McLean, actually, because I think if he was still running out front, he could be putting pressure on his teammate for the win of this race.
Well, his pace is almost identical of Hutu. So, and I'm surprised that Martin Kroenke made that easy for Luke McLean to pass, to be honest, because I thought he's going to make a little hard.
So now working ourselves on lap number 14.
Lighter, you know?
Yeah. I'm surprised as well. Kroenke, of course, now he's been passed by McLean. His next victim, McLean, will be Hugo Luis, who's 6 seconds up the road. When you compare the two lap times, last time, a 128.2 for Hugo Louise, and it was a 128.2 also for McLean. But of course, McLean was running in dirty air that entire lap. Now, he probably closed up at about a second a lap, and that means that before they get to the first pit stops, McLean's all going to be over the rear of Hugo Louise, which is going to hurt Louise's lap times even more. So, Cronkite, if he defended that position a little bit more, could have helped his teammate in that number 2 car out. But the important thing right now is to keep an eye out on the lap times of Luke McLean, and the battle goes on though between Cronkite and Barone, and Barone wasn't able to take advantage of McLean coming past there, and he's still stuck just 2 tenths per second behind Martin Cronkite.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that even now Hugo is still sitting on 4th position. Didn't make any impression on Jake's. Either he's really heavy, or because I spoke with Hugo Luis and he said that his car was not that good. Anyway, he tried to make a good racing setup to win, but I'm thinking he's fighting the car a little bit, you know. That's why he's sitting in 4th right now.
And the other My 3ID drivers, Martin Cronkite, of course, we talked about him a lot, sat in that 6th position and Baroni right behind him. And then Andre Borchardt in 12th position as well. So overall, My 3ID haven't got really that much speed here today. It does seem to be that the Redline cars are clearly faster. And also that INEX car of Jake Sturgis also doing a pretty good job in that 3rd position right now. We haven't talked about him that much.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah. Now I can see here Marcus Caton kind of fighting with Miguel Martin, the Portuguese driver. So they kind of racing for 18th position right now. And, you know, the guys on the back is racing very hard too.
Yeah, and Miguel Martin in that TNT car trying to close up to the rear of Marcus Caton in that battle for 17th position. Last time by, Martin was pretty much the same time as Caton, but he's in that dirty air right now. It kind of kicks in when you're about 0.7 of a second behind. And also, they've got Christian Lorenz just about a second and a half up the racetrack as well. And Marcus Caton and Miguel Martin are both catching Christian Lorenz. So within about the next 3 or 4 laps, that could be a good 3-way battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, and they probably either they're gonna go and pass and go ahead, or they're gonna make three of them a little bit slower, because when you have 3 guys fighting for a position, it obviously you become slower, you know? Especially with the Formula 1 car, you know? You lose the air, you know?
We're talking about a 129.7 there for Miguel Martin. Gregor Hutu just did a 126.7 in that number 1 car. Hutu is flying on the racetrack right now, and he's at the moment, he's a full 1.2 seconds faster a lap than his own teammate in Atsu Karakov. So Hutu really has taken this race by the grip of the neck right now. He's coming up to some lap traffic. That is Jeremy Bouteloup in the number 7 machine. So Hutu is charging right now, but also good battle going on between, let's say, Miguel Martin, Marcus Caton. Dion Burgess isn't too far behind these drivers. Christian Laurent is right there as well. So it's going to be a 5-way battle before too long. And also, it looks as though that Laurent is starting to close down Pierre Ubrizzo as well in the battle for 15th.
Yeah, Dion Vegas just passed Miguel Martin like as no tomorrow. Just flew by him, you know.
Impressive. Very impressive pass that was by Dion Burgess in that number 22 SimSport car. He's been able to move himself now within a second of Marcus Caton in that battle right now for 17th position on the racetrack. But that mid-pack, it does look as though it's been the course all season long that they separate early on in the race, but then they all come back together. And I'm counting now about 7 cars that within about 5 laps will be right nose to tail.
Yeah, and another guy too, it's Pablo Lopes. He's there quiet in 14. He's very quiet there in 14, but he's taking points for sure. Paul Brink has a beautiful race for 13th place. I mean, awesome.
Going to turn our attention back to this issue with Luke McLean, because he's closed that gap already. Just 1.5 seconds now to the rear of Hugo Luis. Last time by for McLean, a 127.079. Compare that to a 128.7 there for Hugo Luis. And of course, part of that will be the fuel burning off, and the fact that we do believe that both Hutu and McLean are on very, very light strategies. But really is pushing it right now, Luke McLean. And it's only going to be a couple of laps. In fact, probably only 1 lap before he's all over the gearbox of that number 2 My 3D machine.
And Ben Cornette started to make impression on Oli Pancala, you know. They're really going at it as well, try to get close to Mogar Fijo.
Yeah, and for Ben Cornette, he's running in the top 10 right now. That's a big change of fortunes for that Team Redline car, who's really struggled this season. All over the rear of Oli, say, in that number 60 car. And then also Mogar Fijo's only a couple of seconds up the road as well. So Ben Cornette, looking as though he might get himself a very strong top 10 finish here.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's going to be very good for his his own rights, if you know what I mean. Because he's thinking to himself, gosh, am I going to have a good race here or what? You know, he's really looking for a good finish, you know. He's really looking for it.
He indeed really is. And Ben Cornette, as I say, his season has not been that he would have wanted. We talked to him on Iceland or Glacier TV a couple of months ago. He's not had a single top 5 finish this year. He only has 83 points. So he really has struggled, has Ben Cornette, in that Team Redline car, of course representing Club Australia and New Zealand. We'll get some more stats up from him in a moment, but all over the rear he is now of that 60 car, but also his countryman is now all over the rear of Hugo Luis, and look where he's coming down into Carlos, into once again that turn number 10 where he is so strong, and he's going down to the inside already.
Wow. I'm telling you, Hugo Luis is fighting his car. I'm telling you right now, my friend. Hugo Luis is fighting for his car right now, and he's not even gonna fight for it. But then again, he is much ever. So look, McLean, he's doing what he's doing. He puts his head down and say, you know what, I'm gonna make it up for my mistake on the first lap. You know, and he's done very well.
So McLean moves himself up.
Man.
He really is.
Man.
8 tenths per second in pretty much 2 corners there. And move McLean up into the 4th position on the racetrack. Hugo Luis now down into the 5th position. Just trying to do some maths very quickly as well with pit stops. If you're on a 2-stop strategy, and we expect these guys in about lap 20, between lap 20 and lap 25. So we're not far away from the 2-stoppers making their first pit stop of the day. Guys who do think on 2 stops. Gregor Hutu, we know that Luke McLean is likely on 2 pit stops. We also think that Kirchhoff is right in the middle as well. But we're going to turn our attention to that battle between Kroenke and Barone once again. And Barone still hasn't been able to find a way past on that Farage Azura racing machine.
Yeah, and Martin Kroenke is fighting really with Rocco, and they being like really... they be trading laps as far as lap time, and so they really looking forward to this battle, you know.
And Barone is...
I'm sorry. No, so Mogar Fijo now drop. He's worrying about 2 guys behind him, you know.
Yeah, that is the number 60 car of Ollie, and also Ben Cornette, who's really come into play here. This will be the first top 10 that Ben Cornette has got all season long, as they come down into turn number 11 once again. Cornette only 2 turns per second behind Pacquiao as they come down into turn 12, 13, 14. Can Cornette get a good run? He doesn't get as good a run off the corners as Luke McLean gets. I think that's going to be Cornette's issues, his only issue on this race. The fact that he can't really get the good run off the corners when he needs to onto those long straightaways.
Yeah, we should have like a lap with Rocco on the cockpit, because he's really on the transmission of the Martin Kroenke. It looks pretty good. You know, can we have one in car when the Rocco's? It's going to be looking really good.
Yeah, we'll try and get a look at that. In fact, Rocco Barone right now coming out of turn number 5 into that sweeping right for turn 6. And now we'll go on board as they come down into the best part of the racetrack. Turn 7, left-hand flick, right-hand flick into turn number 8. Got to get a good run out of here. Very short straightaway. Move the car to the right-hand side down into turn number 9. Then you bring that car to the left. Use that car on the apex exit of the corner. A little bit of a wiggle there from Barone. That drops about a tenth of a second as they come down into turn number 10. That long 180-degree right-hander that we've seen Luke McLean be so strong here. Then you come down this back straightaway. It's the longest straightaway on the racetrack. It goes downhill in the final portion of it as well before you come down. 90-degree right-hander for turn number 11. And then the final couple of corners. This is magical. Just keep an eye out on this. Flick it left. Then you flick it left immediately again. You're still flat out. Then you go into the brakes. And then dart to the right-hand side. and then you come past the start-finish line. Barone's car does look very well handling right now, except for in first gear corners.
Yeah, they certainly look really good. It's pretty tough when you have two guys with the same speed, basically. It's very tough to kind of make a pass, a clean pass, you know what I mean? It's very tough to you have to come out of the corner really good, take the draft from the car and try to make a outbreak on the end of the lap, on the end of the corner, no? It's pretty tough.
It is pretty tough indeed. Baroni has been in this position pretty much since the start of this race. Of course, Baroni started this race in 9th. He's now running in 7th position. Martin Conke started this race in 7th and is now working in that 6th position. But we need to keep an eye out on Ben Cornette behind as well. And Cornette very sideways there as he comes down into turn number 9 on the racetrack. That's going to hurt him down into turn number 10 big time.
Oh, he lost maybe at least a second in there. Well, not a second, but he lost a bunch in there.
Sideways again, and I'm not sure whether Cornette's got some damage actually. We're just going to see whether he has got any damage to his race car. I can't see anything on that Fanatic Team Redline number 14 car, but something's clearly happened to Ben Cornette because his car is very sideways for a couple of corners in a row. Maybe he's burnt his tyres out. He comes on to pit road.
Oh, he's in the pits. That's why he was trying to do a flying lap for him to pit. Oh, there's another guy that went around here.
Yeah, that was the 60 car. Yeah, it was the 60 car actually there of Oli Pakala. And that's very funny because as soon as he has that pressure relieved of Ben Cornette behind him, that's when he makes his first mistake of the race. We'll get the replay, and he just caught the curb there on the exit of the final corner. Does it the wrong way. His car spins sideways. Very lucky to jam on the brakes there to avoid hitting the inside pit wall.
Yeah, what he's trying to do, he was trying to say, I'm going to make a nice hot lap to leapfrog Ben Cornette, but it didn't. It didn't work for him.
I need to interrupt you, sorry. Gregor Hutu onto pit road. So from the race lead, Hutu is onto pit road for his first pit stop of the day. We're going to see whether Kirchhoff comes in this lap. We don't expect him to come out for a couple of laps just yet, but Hutu makes his first pit stop into his pit box. 4 fresh tyres for him. And he's going to get some fresh tyres as well. And the important thing is to see where he comes out on the racetrack. We need to keep an eye on Jake Sturgis. He's coming past the start-finish line. It doesn't look as though he's going to be close enough. And Luton comes out in 2nd position.
I thought that Luke McLean is going to come in this lap, but he never made it. So maybe we can see Luke McLean coming up this lap coming up. So I think Luke McLean is going to come this lap, I think.
I think so as well, because McLean was just as fast as Hutu, unless that was clear raw pace there from McLean. Of course, at this stage of the race, Sturgis will be faster than Gregor Hutu, because of the fact that Sturgis is now going to be on lighter fuel compared to the full tank of fuel that Hutu just put into his race tank. Kirchhoff is now your new race leader, a 4.4 second gap between himself and Gregor Hutu. Sturgis in 3rd, Luke McLean 4th, and Hugo Luis rounds out your top 5. And for Luis, he's still kind of in no man's land. He's lost 5 seconds now to Luke McLean, but he's still putting out a big gap over Martin Conke, his teammate. So maybe Luis is just very heavy on fuel because he hasn't even broken into the 1 minute 27 just yet.
Yeah, I don't think that this race is working for Hugo Luis today, and I don't think he's got the car under him. So, and he's fighting the car for sure. He's not on a good pace, and even though he's heavy, but he's not in a good pace, and I think he's gonna try to salvage as much as he can for this run, and just gonna move it for the next race, you know.
So we'll keep an eye out on Luke McLean. Will he make that journey onto pit road this time by? Indeed, yes he does. So he just look how much of the grass he clips there as well. He gets it down. One of the slowest pit lanes we have all season long, 37 miles an hour, and at this racetrack 37 miles an hour is an age. And we know that it takes now about 26 seconds to make a pit stop, between 25 and 26 seconds, depending on whether you're on a 1-stop or a 2-stop. And McLean, 4 fresh tyres to him. He's going to top up the race gas as well. McLean, he's got to be careful now he doesn't come out into too much traffic. And I'm keeping an eye out on Mogar feed Andre Borcher even. Borcher will come out just behind Luke McLean, but McLean is going to have to get past Michaels and Philo and Barone and Conke once again.
I just saw Jeremy both look going very slow here, but because he's not on the points by any chance. He was just making a way to other drivers to pass, and so everything's okay with Jeremy.
So Atsi Kirchhoff is scored as your race leader in that number 5 Team Redline Fanatic machine as they come down into turn number 10 once again on the racetrack. Hutu scored in the 2nd position. To give you an update on just how fast the other cars are going to be at this stage of the race, Kirchhoff did a 1:27.2 last time by. Hutu did a 1:31.2. Of course, we're going to get a better indication of what Hutu's times are in just a moment. Hutu does have the fast lap of the race, a 1:26.491. Hutu will come past the stripe. What time is it going to be for him? And it's going to be a 1:27.6. So that's incredible speed there by Hutu. Remembering, he's got a lot more fuel than Kirchhoff ahead of him. And he's only 0.3 of a second slower.
Yeah, that's pretty wow. Wow. I'm looking here at Pablo Lopes. He's closing down to Oli Pakala. And so with that mistake, so he's now sitting there in 12th place, and Pablo's sitting very solid in 13, you know?
Yeah, so Pakala in that number 60 car, of course, he's the guy who had that spin coming out the final corner. Lopez gets sideways out the final corner this time by in that Radical Steel Series number 9 cars. They come down into turn number 1 once again. And Pablo Lopez, that last lap, he lost about 0.6 of a second, however, to Pakala. But he's still gaining a lot of time to the guys behind him. So 13th position from 24th is still pretty good there for a good old paycheck.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so is for Paul Ilbring from Teams Radical 2. He's in 11th, solid 11th place so far for Paul Ilbring. Paul Ilbring, I don't know if you recall, after the last Indianapolis and a couple of races, he didn't even make one corner, and he was very, very upset because he's trying to make clean races, and something always come up. Some people hit him and see what, because I spoke with him and he said, my God, man, if I can just do my first lap good, and I know I can do the race good. So you see, he's proving himself now. He's sitting in 11th position, very solid here on the racetrack.
To give you an update, Ben Cornett has also made a pit stop, so he falls back down into the 17th position. Clean entry, clean exit for him. He's back onto the racetrack, currently scored in the 17th position on the racetrack, as he's trying to close up to the rear of Dion Verges. And we now have got a train of 4 cars. Piero Brizzo, Christian Laurent, Dion Verges, and Ben Cornett. And I'll tell you what, those 3 cars at the very least, Brizzo, Laurent, and Verges, their lap times are pretty much identical at this stage of the race.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Look how much Luke McLean lost as far as seconds is concerned. Luke McLean is at least 30 seconds behind his Gregor Hutu. So that's how much he lost as far as he would have been, like, let's say top 3 right now if he would have made that mistake. Now he's sitting in 9th place at 30 seconds behind the leaders, you know?
Yeah, and that was all caused, for those of you who are just joining us, because Luke McLean jumped the start in this race. Now 26 laps into the 64 lap event here to make up the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. But for McLean, the issue that he had, he jumped that start, he's been working through traffic ever since then. He's now about, again, 0.5 of a second behind Stephen Michaels as they come down into what I'm going to have to rename McLean Corner after this, because this is a corner he's just so good at. And he comes down into turn number 11. He's not going to be close enough this time to make that pass to Michaels. He's got to be a bit more aggressive getting past drivers right now.
Yeah, and he's looking really to pass Stefan Michael, you know, like he's really looking forward to it.
He should get a good run out of the final corner. He doesn't, however, and he stays 4 tenths behind. This is, again, I think the red line thing, that those cars don't work as well the first 4 or 5 laps, and then they really come into its own. And McLean just seems to be struggling with a little bit heavier fuel. Maybe he took more fuel than those guys ahead of him to go onto a one-stopper, as you talked about earlier, to try and get himself some track position back.
Yeah, and Stephen Michael is not an easy customer to pass, though. And I know for that, I know for a fact that Stephen Michael, it's a very tough client, you know. So it's not going to be easy for Luke McLean, because Luke McLean is not really much faster than Stephen Michael at this point, you know.
Yeah, and it's the Abuto Twister racing car of Stephen Michaels, running himself in the 8th position right now. He's 4.5 seconds behind Mo Garfido, ahead of him on the racetrack. And of course, he has got the Australian New Zealand driver of Luke McLean currently scored in that 9th position, hounding him as they come out of turn number 9 once again. That short run down into turn number 10. And this time it does look as though McLean's going to get a better run into the corner. He needs to be good in the centre of the corner. And again, look at the way he tries to do it down on the inside. He loses a little bit. He couldn't get onto the gas where he wanted to. But now he's got that chance to try and do a late breakdown into turn number 11. Will he dart to the outside?
Wow.
Yes, he will. No, he won't.
I'm saying, man, Stephen Michael is a very tough client.
Yeah, and I tell you what, for McLean, if he can't get through turn number 10, it doesn't look as though he can pass on the front end of the racetrack. Also, just to let you know that Kirchhoff has pitted from the race lead, so he is now down into the 4th position once again. So Kirchhoff went 27 laps on his first tank of fuel, and Hutu's now scored as your race leader. And of course, Jake Sturgis is carrying on right now. This could be a good finish for Sturgis, the way it carries on, because he's a lot heavier than Kirchhoff ahead of him.
So does Hugo Louis. I begin to believe that, I mean, I could be wrong, but you know what? I think Hugo Louis came to this race extremely heavy to do his last thing. I can imagine new tires, lighter car, he's gonna make an impression on, you know, trust me. He's gonna be, because he's not very far from Gargahutu, so he's 10 seconds, 11 seconds or so. So it's gonna be a race in the end, I think.
Indeed, and let's not forget that both of those drivers will have to make at least one pit stop in this race. Hutu is nowhere near good enough to go to the end, so he will have to make one more pit stop. Louise will have to make one pit stop. He hasn't pitted yet in this race, but intriguingly, Sturgis right now is still in that 2nd position. But Hutu, this is the thing that confuses me. Hutu, 127.2s again already. He really is a class of the field here today. He's at least half a second faster than anyone else on the racetrack on any given lap.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, Hutu is Hutu, right? So he's very, very, very fast. Now I'm looking here. Look, McLean still trying to make impression under Stephen Michael, but as I said, Stephen Michael is not going to make it easier for Luke McLean, because they racing for position first of all, and Stephen Michael don't like to lose positions. I know that for a fact. And talking about that, Mogar Filho, I was speaking with him last few days ago, and because he had such a good run on Indianapolis, getting a very good position for the points and all that, but he was kind of sad because he said to me, you know what, Carlos, I'd rather finish in 7th place or 8th, but having everybody in the racetrack, like, I mean, Gregor Hutu, Atsid, I mean, the fastest guy, he wants to finish good, but I'm making sure that he's passing either Atsil or Hugo Luis or Gregor Hutu. You know what I mean? That's the level of the field that we have sometimes, if you think of how professional those drivers is, you know?
Indeed, and I tell you what, you talk about, you know, how high the level of competition is here in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. You talk about sim racing worldwide, everyone knows who Gregor Hutu is, everyone knows who Hugo Luis is. There's a clean all over the rear there of Michaels as they come into 11, still not being able to complete that pass, however. For example, Antti Kirchhoff, he's going to be running in GT Academy in the next couple of weeks. He's made it to their national finals. Former WCS driver Blake Townend also running this week in the GT Academy finals. So, you know, these guys really are some of the best sim racers in the world, and the important thing is you can race with them as well. If you head over to iRacing.com right now, half price of your first 3 months membership, you can actually be racing with the likes of Hutu, Sturgis, Louise, Kroenke, Kirchhoff, and all the other drivers. Over 35,000 members now on the iRacing service. However, your top 10 with 30 laps going to be scored complete this time. It is Hutu from Sturgis, from Louise, from Kirchhoff, from Kroenke, from Baroni, from Philo, from Michaels, from McLean. They are your top 9. And then Borcher rounds out your top 10. And I'm keeping an eye out, and I'm wondering maybe Luke McLean might have run over a cone there, because it does seem as though his car isn't handling as well as it was early in this race.
Yeah, I think he's got a dirty air right now, and that's why he's not. You see, then again, right now, if you look at it, he's looking for a good exit the corner, and he got one now. I mean, he's got one now. Very, very, very. Wow, he's gonna pass now.
Yeah, that'll be an easy pass there down into turn number 11. McLean, you know how good he is on the brakes as well. Down into 11, completes the pass. Job done, game over. So McLean's finally... But the thing is, it took him 5 laps to get past Michaels that time. Early in the race, it took him 2 laps to do so. Michaels was defending hard there, and with good reason, because, of course, whenever you see the Team Redline car or my 3D car coming up behind you, you often think, I just have to get out of the way, but Michaels held his ground well there.
Yeah, that's what I say. Stephen Michael is not a easy customer. He really gonna say, hey, you wanna pass me? You have to make a pass. You know, I'm not gonna let you pass. So that's what happened. So it took Luke McLean about whatever 5 laps or so to pass Stephen Michael. Now he's gonna go on with his game. And another thing too that we have to see it is who's gonna be finishing top 3 now, because I'm so confused now who's gonna be in top 3, because Hugo's doing good, but we know Hugo gets stopped. I mean, Atsi is doing a little bit farther away from. Man, I don't know. I'm confused. What do you think, really?
I tell you what, this race has changed in the last couple of laps, because Kirchhoff's now back into the 128. Hugo Luis is into the 1 minute 27, mid 127s. Sturgis, in my opinion, is still that dark horse. And he is doing 127.60s. He did a very slow lap last time, a 128.2 actually, and that cost him 1.5 seconds. And he got something happening on the racetrack, I believe. But just keep an eye out on Sturgis and say he had a very bad lap that last time by. He was working himself through some lap traffic. It cost him 1.5 seconds to that race leader, who was Gregor Hootie once again. Hootie last time by at 127.071. Sturgis normally is using about half a second a lap, but Sturgis, importantly though, he is really looking as though he could cement that second position, because he's 6 seconds ahead of Hugo Luis on the same strategy. Yeah. And Atsi Kirchhoff came onto pit road a lot earlier than we expected.
Much earlier, no?
And for Kirchhoff, I say, he came onto pit road on lap 27. Of course, he could still finish the race on one more stop. Compare that to the likes of Hutu, who clearly can't make it, and Luis, who we expect to be coming on pit road maybe in the next 5 or 6 laps. But I think for a couple of these drivers, you know, they're right in the middle, and Kirchhoff, he might have moved on to a one-stopper now, and I think that could be his only way of trying to get past Sturgis in this race and keep him that second position.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, gosh, I'm a little bit thinking about here, because Martin Crocs got about, what, 10 seconds or so on the Atsi, and Atsi is about 6 or so from Hugo Luis, so wow, let's see what's gonna come up now. Hey, and we gotta love iRacing. I've been with iRacing since 2008, and how much they grow, how much they got so realistic, and then iRacing is the best. I mean, the best simulation, and to providing all this quality championship from the WCS road and for the ovals as well. You know, iRacing's top one, man.
Indeed, and of course, you can see on iRacing Brazil the entirety of the iRacing NASCAR World Championship Series as well. That series, it's really going to carry on in the next couple of races. The championship leader didn't turn up. Hudson didn't turn up the last round, but Michael Conti won that race. So far, it's back to the point in their championship, and with about 5 rounds remaining, there's still all to play for in the iRacing NASCAR World Championship Series. Of course, also in the iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series as well. In 2 weeks' time, we head over to Zandvoort, and that really, in Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time, going to be one of the defining races of the season. New tyre build on a tricky, tough, technical racetrack. Anything can happen at Zandvoort, and it usually does. But back here at Twin Wing Motegi, field's starting to spread out a little bit, but Baroni, I'm still struggling to understand why Baroni's not been able to find a way past Martin Conke yet. And I would have suspected maybe Baron tried to come into pit road a lap or 2 before Conke's trying to get that leapfrog.
Yeah, Kronk is solid there, and Baroni is making no impression right now as far as getting really close to make a pass, because when you have 2 cars going the same speed, basically the same, it's very tough to make a clean pass, and so obviously he's just sitting down hoping for a mistake, but how can those drivers, they usually don't make mistakes, so it's very tough for them to make mistakes. Oh wow, he goes inside it.
Yep, we've got a car sideways there.
Wow.
Jesus, that was very... Wow.
Yeah, Martin,
Yes.
he just made a mistake. I was talking about that. They don't make mistake, he just made a mistake. So, you see, we should not talking about that.
And Baroni has been able to go past. The curse of the commentator strikes again. The replay is up on your screen. So Baroni is now up into the 5th position on the racetrack. That was down on the entry of turn number 3. And it looked as though that he just didn't get the run, did Conke. And then down the inside went Rocco Barone down into turn number 4. You can cast there if the car makes a mistake into turn 1 or 2. But we saw this with Cornette earlier on. His tyres just let go the lap before he came onto pit road. Perhaps now Conke might come into pit road this time by.
Maybe not. No.
He stays out for another lap. That's interesting. Conke did lose. He's already lost a second to the rear of Baroni as well. So Baroni really is pushing at this moment in time. But behind him, Ben Cornette is all over the rear of Pietro Brizzo as well in that battle for 14th position. And Cornette has had to drive for the field twice here today. And now you see Brizzo really going on the defensive as Cornette just 1/10 of a second behind as they come down to 11.
And Mogar is coming, huh? Mogar is trying to close down to Kronk. Maybe Kronk has hit up his tires or somehow, and because it's so easy to make a little mistake on the Formula 1 and you lose so much time as far as the racetrack is concerned. So Mogar is getting really close and bringing along Luke McLean, you know.
We've got some information, by the way, from the director of competition, Shannon Whitmore, and it wasn't actually a jump start there by Luke McLean. It was a drive-through penalty due to a qualifying infraction which took place 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis. So it wasn't a jump start there for Luke McLean. We just got the word from Shannon Whitmore. So that was costly for McLean because, as I said, arguably he's at least the second fastest guy on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, and he's coming from Mogar. Mogar's coming for Martin Kronke. Let's see if Martin Kronke enters the pit now.
Yep, and he still stays out. And now Barone's on pit road. So the number 62 machine, Rocco Baroni, in that Farage Azura racing machine, onto pit road. And it's been a good drive for Baroni this entire race, I have to say.
And I think Jake Sturgeon made a pit stop. Yeah, Jake Sturgeon.
He has, and he's fallen back down the field into the 7th position. And right now, he's actually behind Luke McLean. 3.3 seconds is the gap between those two on the racetrack. But for McLean, he's got Mo Garfido, who's in 5th. Martin Conke in 4th, and he's going to have to deal with them. And this will hold up McLean a little bit, because again, he struggled getting past those drivers early in the race. And now, of course, Philo is on light fuel, and Conke is on light fuel. So it's a lot more difficult for McLean to get past them now than earlier on when these guys were on a one-stopper and Luke McLean only had half a tank of fuel in his car.
Oh yeah, and now Mogar is probably not going to make that easy because Mogar knows if you want to pass me, then again, it's the famous corner, the McLean corner. You see, Mogar had a twitch there, so he's going to probably lose the position there.
And McLean closes up as they come down the backstretch. Of course, one of the issues with the red line cars is they gear their cars up to run better in clean air. They haven't got the straight line speed advantage that you see, for example, from the Ironix drivers, people like Jason Lovett, who's not racing here today, and Jake Sturgis, who have really good straight line speed. But McLean gets a much better run out of the final corner there. This is going to put him right back behind him as they come down into turn 1. He will go down to the inside, but again, a straight line, you know, even though he has a draft and they touch a little bit there, McLean, he forces his way through there into turn number 1. And that was a little bit dangerous there by McLean, I have to say.
Yeah, wow. Luke McLean, you see, that's the thing about Luke McLean, doesn't have much patience he wants to get ahead and he just forces the issue sometimes. And that was pretty tough passing there, you know, to make, you know.
What happened was, and we'll get ourselves a replay off of this in a moment, Philo, it looks as though he slowed down a bit too much. He got a little bit high in the centre of the corner. He clipped that curb just a tiny bit, and he went up the racetrack a little bit, and McLean just slotted his car down to the inside. There wasn't any contact there, actually, but it was mighty, mighty close. McLean has closed up to the rear a little bit of Martin Kronke, but I'm actually thinking that right front tyre of Philo might have been tweaked a little bit in that incident.
Yeah, let's see the replay and see what happened there exactly, you know.
and the replay is up on your screen, it was mighty close between those two drivers. So, if Philo caught that curve on the inside of turn number 1 first, he came up the racetrack, and then that allowed Luke McLean to come, finding basically a car length's room to get down to the inside. And I'm just looking at it frame by frame, and there was the slightest and the absolute slightest contact. I'm going to have to look from another angle, but it was very, very slight contact there between those two drivers. It looks as though both of them would be able to just about get away with it okay, though.
Yeah, Hugo Luis in the pits, huh?
Yeah, so Luis making his one and only pit stop of the day. So complete lap number 38 of this race. And for Luis, he's out and away once again. He's fallen down into 6th position for the time being. But the important thing is, he's still 4 seconds behind Jake Sturgis.
Yeah, I think Hugo Luis wants to forget this race altogether, and he's just gonna collect some points here and then go for the next one, you know. The car really didn't work for him, and everybody's looking forward to the new tire model, the version 5 for the Formula 1, and so everybody's going to look forward to the next race. The next race is going to be very exciting, that's for certain. That's people tune in for the next race. It's going to be like, wow, you guys are going to be watching a very, very good race.
Yeah, of course, iRacing Brazil returning with its Portuguese coverage in 2 weeks' time here, and Glacier TV will be back, unfortunately without me, because I'm seeing a punk rock band that day, on Glacier TV, same time, same place as always, and that'll be at Circuit Park Zandvoort, it's in 2 weeks' time. 13th round of the championship, going to be mighty interesting to see these guys do battle on the Dutch racetrack. Atty Kirchhoff, I don't think actually, I'm interested to see whether he's got enough fuel to the end. Luke McLean, we all know, will have to make one more pit stop in my opinion. So, in theory, it will probably finish, Hootie of course winning, but then Kirchhoff I'm a little bit unsure about, and then also Jake Sturgis, he pretty much has got that 3rd position wrapped up, and then Hugo Luis won't even be on the podium here today. So, Sturgis, you have to say though, a very good drive by him, and Kirchhoff, all eyes will be keeping an eye out to see whether he's got enough fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, Mogard just came out of the pits now, and he came up on, who's that here? Yeah, he came up in 7, so
he's 1 second behind Rocco Baroni.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting battle.
Yeah, he's sandwiched between Martin Kronk and Rocco, I guess.
Yeah, so Kroenke's lost out big time there with these series of pit stops. He's lose a position to Mogar Fido. And Rocco Baroni as well. We'll keep an eye on him because I expect him to pull away from Philo and Kroenke now, because of course Baroni was stuck right behind Kroenke that entire first run. We didn't see what true speed that Ferrari car had.
Yeah, now without this exchanging, Hugo Luis just gained 1 position. That was when the Mogar stops, of course. So now he's sitting 5th. But he's 51 seconds behind Greg Ahut. I mean, technically, Greg Ahut can probably stop it again and still come out ahead on Hugo Luis, you know.
And Gregor, of course, is on a 2-stop strategy, we believe here. And he's just that last lap, did a 126.7. And he now is about a pit stop ahead of Atty Kirchhoff. But we'll keep an eye out on Stephen Michaels and Ben Cornett. They are battling for 9th position on the racetrack. Cornett once again back into the top 10. But Michaels, again, a good drive by him. He's just 4 tenths of a second ahead right now of Cornett in that 14 machine.
Yeah, well, Ben Cornett is doing a great run here today. He's got to set up, I mean, obviously, Ben Cornett really... Oh, he got all the cones now. See, that's one thing too. Now we can drop the cones out, you know?
Indeed, I know the fans are having a lot of fun keeping an eye on what we call cone count, how many cones get knocked over the course of this race. But for Cornett, you have to say, I mean, this is by far his best performance of the season. Running in the top 10 solidly in that number 14 Fanatic Team Redline car. And he's putting the pressure on Stephen Michaels, and he hasn't put a foot wrong in this race.
Yeah, all those big names, because I call Ben Cornett like one of the classic drivers that we have here, like Dion Vergers, Ben Cornett, and all those guys, you know. So he's I don't think I don't remember last time the Ben Cornette was in top 10 and really racing for it. I mean, he's really looking for 9th place here. It's not that he's just running in 10th place, he's racing, and so this is pretty good to see, you know.
Yeah, and he tried to look down to the inside of Michaels there, down into turn number 11. He wasn't able to get that pass complete. But it's like he had a very tough start to the season. I talked to Dom Duham, who's the team principal for Team Redline, and he said that, simply put, Cornette's had so much on his plate this year that he wasn't able to focus as heavily on the World Championship Series. But really, is all over the rear of Michaels right now. And also, let's not forget, their lap times means that they could close up on the rear of Martin Kroenke and Mo Garfilo still in this race.
Yeah, another guy too. I like to see Ray Alfala racing the Formula 1 again, really. I mean, I really like to see Ray. Hey, Ray, come over, man. Let's race, man.
Well, Alfala, of course, now has that 9,000 I rating on the oval side. The first driver to actually ever achieve 9,000 I rating on iRacing. So he's almost completed everything he needs to do on iRacing. He looks as though he might get another championship in the NASCAR Racing World Championship Series. So, of course, he'll have to qualify. And the way you qualify for these races, by the way, for those of you who are new to the World Championship Series, we've got ourselves a number of different series here on iRacing. You start off by running in the A-Class Grand Prix Series on iRacing. Get into the top 10 of that over the course of seasons 1, 2 and 3. You move yourself into the Pro Series. The top 25 for the Pro Series get themselves a World Championship Series license. The bottom 25 in the World Championship Series lose their license. And you get 50 drivers who have to compete for the Battle of the Glory. And we talk about some of these guys who's been, you know, a World Championship driver since day one. Gregor Houty, people like Luke McLean, people like Sturgios, Cornette, for example. But you still have those new guys as well. Unfortunately, we've lost one of the big new guys of this season, Fulvio Barrazzini, out very early on in this race. Yeah. You've got Michaels, you know, who's really improved himself this year. He had a bad season last time around. He's moved to a new team. He's had himself a great season. But we also got people like Mo Garfilo, for example. Again, another good finish in that number 27 machine.
Mogar is a very smart driver. I usually, you know, I personally call Mogar the professor, you know. Mogar has the same style as Alan Prost. If you look at the way he drives, very smart. So I call the Mogar Fijo the professor of the iRacing.
And Philo was very unlucky in the Pro Series not to win a race. He came second so many times, he just couldn't get to the top step of the podium. To let you guys know as well, that Cornette has now been able to get himself past his competitor of Stephen Michaels. So he's now up into 9th position, closing that gap to the rear of Martin Kroenke. And it's going to be interesting to see now whether or not Cornette can catch Kroenke before the end of this race.
Well, he's flying too right now at this point. He's really going. Like, I mean, he just passed Stephen Mike, and he's already maybe half a second ahead in less than one lap, you know. So that means he's got a really good rhythm going, you know.
The important thing as well to see whether or not Cornette needs to pit again in this race. The same question we're actually asking of Atty Kirchhoff in that number 5 car. Can I turn our attention to Kirchhoff very quickly in that number 5 machine, because he's now 28.5 seconds behind his teammate Gregor Houty in that battle for the race lead. In fact, that gap's gone up again by another half a second in this lap alone. It's now up to just over 29 seconds on the racetrack between Kirchhoff in the number 5 car and Gregor Houty in the number 1 machine. But if Kirchhoff needs to pit again in this race, that really could hurt him, drop him outside the top 5. And actually, Houty came onto pit road, he's come back out, and he's still in the race lead with a 2.4 second gap over at Kirchhoff. So Houty made his second pit stop of the day.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. He's still leading this is unbelievable, man.
So Houty makes his second stop of the day. We still think maybe Kirchhoff needs to make one more stop on this race. We're not sure whether or not he will be good to go to the end or whether he needs to make a splash and dash later on. But Houty, he pitted pretty much straight in the money for a 2-stop strategy race there. He didn't need to take any risks or anything, but dominant drive there by Gregor Houty, and he didn't even lose the lead of that race in the second lot of the pit stops, which really is important. And it's a big blow there to like sort of Hugo Louise, who's just seeing Redline once again dominating.
Yeah, and I'm looking here at the Luke McLean that he has to make one more stop, right? So let's see what's happening with him, because right now he's sitting in third position, that's a podium right now for him, right?
Indeed, yeah, we do expect him to come back down onto pit road once again. I'm having a look to see when he first came on, and that was on lap number 23 in this race. 22 coming, yeah, lap number 23 in this race. He made his first pit stop of the day. So in theory, he should have to come out in about 3 or 4 laps time, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's in the
oh,
pit.
Something's happened, yeah.
Look, McQueen's in the pits, and he touched the wall a little bit on the entrance.
And also, Ati Kirchhoff's somehow gone to the race lead. We still think that Ati needs to pit, but Ati Kirchhoff has gone past Gregor Hutu.
Wow, that's something.
And we're just trying to figure out what happened. It was out of turn number 10, and we're keeping an eye out to see whether or not Hutu, yeah, it did look as though Hutu just allowed him to go past there, coming out of turn number 10. Hutu gets onto the gas, onto the back straightaway, then he moves his car to the right hand side, and actually, he just slows down and allows his teammate to go past him. So that's very interesting there. Kirchhoff goes to the race lead.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that Luke McLean don't have any damage, because he did touch the wall a little bit. He just slightly touched, but Formula 1, it's very sensitive as far as hitting. You cannot hit the Formula 1 car because the car is already come not really drivable, you know. So hopefully Luke McLean is going to be okay. Huh?
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out on Luke McLean and keep an eye out especially on his lap times as he's running that 5th position. We get a very good indication right now as he comes into the sweeping S's once again. His car looks like he still has some good speed over it, and he's not losing any time to Hugo Luis, who's ahead of him. In fact, he's still gaining about a tenth of a second through that section on the racetrack. But that thing with Kirchhoff as well, why would Hutu just slow down on the back straightaway?
Well, it's tough. I don't know. Maybe he got something wrong with him. Maybe his equipment at home or something came up or something. Who knows?
Kirchhoff now leads this race. He leads it by 1.8 seconds over Gregor Hutu. It could be, though, because of the fact, as I say, Kirchhoff might need to make another pit stop in this race. And when I say he might need to, he was very close on fuel. He came on lap number 27 to make his first pit stop of the day. He could fill up to the end from that point. Alternatively, he might have to do a splash and dash towards the end of the race, in which case, to be on pit road in the next 5 or 6 laps time to make that splash and dash, which will put him, of course, behind Hutu and actually very close to Jake Sturgios in that battle for second.
Yes, indeed.
So we're going to run through your top 10 very quickly. As it stands, it is Ati Kirchhoff now with a 2.2 second gap, actually. I take that back, over Gregor Hutu. Sturgios in the 3rd position. He's 22 seconds behind Gregor Hutu. In 4th is Hugo Luis. He's 31 seconds behind your race leader. Luke McLean in 5th, 36 seconds behind your race leader. The rest of your top 10, Rocco Baroni, Migo Fido, Martin Clonke, Stephen Michaels and Andre Borcher. You still have 15 guys scored on the lead lap. The last one of them is Dion Vergers. A couple of guys scored 1 lap down. They are Pierre Brutzu, Christian Laurent, Miguel Martin, Marcus Caton, Wes Richards and Xiao Pino. And the guys who are scored out of the race, you've got in reverse order, Timo Evenham, Daniel Lopez, Ilka Hapada, Fabio De Carme, Yuda Narumi, Richie Stanaway, Troy Schultz, Matthias Egger, Andres De Carme, Fulvio Barazini, Martin Tila, and Jeremy Bouteloup all scored out of the race. And that's by far the most number of retirees we've had at this point all season long.
Yeah, they all happen in lap 1, so unfortunately most of the lap happens in Formula 1. As I said, on the real Formula 1 we have 24 cars racing for the first corner. Here we have 35 guys wants to make positions, wants to win the race in the first corner, but that doesn't work quite that way, you know.
Keeping an eye out on Ben Cornett right now. He's trying to close up to the rear of Dion Vergers. He has made his 2nd pit stop of the day, so he's once again fallen down the field. And Cornett's had to overtake a lot of drivers here in this 2-stop strategy. And let's not forget, of course, he qualified for this race down in, essentially 25th position. Now running in 15th, trying to close up to the rear of, Dion Vergers right now. And Pablo Lopez ahead of him, of course, is still the biggest mover in this race.
Yes, indeed. Pablo, he's now in 13th place, and is doing really good. Paul Wilbrink, don't forget about Paul Wilbrink. Paul Wilbrink didn't have much good luck for the last few races, and he's in 11th place solid. He's solid there in 11th place, but that's a very, very, very good result for him.
Yep, and these guys continuing along the way as we now have a total of 47 laps going to be scored complete this time by. And I'm really intrigued to see actually whether or not Cornette will be able to gain enough positions at the end of this race to get himself back into the top 10, make it his first top 10 finish of the year. But there's still a lot to talk about in the rest of this race, and importantly, it's about Atsi Kirchhoff to see whether or not actually he's going to be able to keep ahead of Jake Sturgis, as he's made his second pit stop of the day indeed, and he's now come out in third position behind Jake Sturgis.
That's right, he's behind Jake. That's a surprise. Jake is really doing really good, because Atsi is doing what he does, which is very fast, and Jake, he's getting a solid place right now. Let's see, I think they're going to be fighting pretty good in a couple laps from now. Atsi, I think he has to make a, he wants to go past Jake. Let's see what happens,
Yep, and this is going to be interesting now. So it's the battle for second position on the racetrack between Jake Sturgis in the INX Racing number 3 machine and Atsi Kirchhoff in the Team Redline car sponsored by Fanatec as they come down into turn number 11 once again. Remember what I said to you earlier on in this race also, Carlos, that the Redline cars are not set up to run in dirty air with a high 7th gear. Jake Sturgis' car, and that number 3 car, is set up to work in dirty air with a high 7th gear. So even if Kirchhoff gets past him, Sturgis might be able to find a way back past again.
That's for sure. Yeah, that could be happening for sure. But then again, you have to see in what situation, what part of the course that will happen, because if he adds pass him, let's say on the technical side of the racetrack, he probably move ahead as far as enough to lose the draft,
So just keeping an eye out on Paul Ilbrink right now, as he's trying to close up to the rear of Andre Borcher. Last time by, he was about a 10.5 faster. Let's see what the gap is as they come past the stripe once again between Andre Borcher in the number 13 My Fuel ID car and Paul Ilbrink in the Radical Steel Series number 41. And last time by, 0.2 of a second faster with Paul Ilbrink there over Andre Borcher. So Ilbrink is closing up, and he's knocking on the door right now of a top 10.
Yeah, which is going to be an even better result for him. But Andre Borcher, again, it's not an easy customer to pass. I mean, it's going to be very hard for Paul to make a clean pass. Let's see what happens. And I don't think Andre Borcher is going to. He doesn't want to lose the top 10 too, that, because top 10 is always looks good, because you finish top 10 in the race, not top 11, So this always sounds better than 11, So it's not going to make it easier.
So yeah, trying to get himself into the top 10 is Paul Ilbrink. He lost a little bit of time in sector 1 there. Let's see whether he can do better in the second part of this lap. And in fact, we'll try and go bold with Paul Ilbrink as he comes down into turn number 10 once again. This is the part of the racetrack, we're going to call it McLean Corner from now on, that these guys have really been able to set up a path. But Ilbrink's car does look as though he doesn't get good traction coming out of turn 10.
Yeah, probably set up more for the technical than the high speed, probably. But let's see here coming out of the straightaways,
So on board with Paul Ilbrink as they come out of the final corner down the front straightaway once again, and this time by Ilbrink loses a little bit of time to Andre Borcher in that 13 car, and that's that dirty air coming into play. In fact, you might be able to see it, not in turn 1 as much. Oh no, sideways there goes Andre Borcher. This is going to allow Ilbrink to really close up as they come down into turn number 2. As they come down into the corner, he's not quite close enough, is Paul Ilbrink, but he gets a good run through this corner. He might be able to set himself up for something a little bit later on, but he did dodge a bullet there, did Andre Borcher in that 13 car, almost losing it there as he just caught the grass in the exit of turn number 1.
And he was 1/10 faster than Paul Ilbrink on the last lap, but then he made that mistake, so I make the pole much closer. And then when they are close, the driver gets pumped up, when you see the transmission of the car in front of you much closer, so that makes you faster,
But then Ilbrink struggled once again through the S's section of the racetrack in that dirty air. He's fallen back already by half a second in half a lap alone. So Ilbin's car does not like the dirty air for the time being. We're going to go ahead of them just a little bit, and we're going to keep our eye out on this battle for second and third position between Sturgis and Kirchhoff. And last time by, actually, Sturgis 0.3 of a second faster than actually Kirchhoff, and that's surprising.
And then we have Miguel Martins in the middle of all that. Let's see if Miguel's going to make use of for Atsi.
He does indeed, and now it's going to be Kirchhoff who's going to have to get past him. So, and the gap is now 1.2 seconds on the racetrack. Miguel Martin moving out the way to allow Kirchhoff to have the inside line down into turn number 10. And 1.3 seconds on the racetrack, so it's not long until Kirchhoff would be in that draft zone if he can close up apart another 0.3 of a second. But out of turn 10, Sturgis is sublime getting onto the power.
Oh, yeah, and so he's gonna make an impression this lap for sure. He's gonna be going for it, you know, because we get now 51 laps out of 64, so the race is closing down the laps, no?
Yeah, into the final stages of this race pretty much now. And I have to say, driver of the race for me right now would be going to Jake Sturgis. What has been a beautiful drive by him. Giving an update on a couple of other drivers as well. Lee McLean today to get himself back into the 5th position. Last time by 127.1. He's trying to close down Hugo Luis again. And with the speed faster that he is, he might still catch Luis before the end of this race. And if he's half a second faster a lap as he is right now, he'll be all over the rear of him with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, but you think Hugo Luis is gonna make it easier for Luke McLean to make a pass, because right now on the last stage of the race, you know, 2 laps coming down, so it's you can get close, but to pass is gonna be another issue, you know.
Yeah, still a lot to battle, and again, Luis is going to really have to defend, but don't forget, turn 10 for McLean is where he's better than any other driver on this racetrack. Importantly, that corner leads onto a long straightaway. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can close up enough. That gap is now down to 1.7 seconds on the racetrack between McLean and Luis, so he's gained, again, about half a second on this lap alone. Last time by, Hugo Luis did a 127.694. His fastest lap of the race is only a 127.4. Compare that to McLean's fastest lap of the race, a 126.7. So as the fuel burns off for Luke McLean, he will only go faster and faster. And we'll get confirmation as they come past the track once again what lap times these two guys are doing. And for McLean, a 127.178 and a 128.4 there for Hugo Luis. So clearly, 1.3 seconds faster in one lap there.
Yeah, Atsi just ran a 127.2, so which is pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's only 2 tenths slower than his fastest lap of the race. 3 tenths faster than the fastest lap that Sturgis from the aim to do all race long. Kirchhoff does get a little bit sideways, however, through turn number 4 as they come down into the sweeping S's once again. And this is the point now where Kirchhoff needs to push. The next 3 or 4 laps, whilst they're trying to go through lap traffic, there is more lap traffic ahead of Jake Sturgis. They'll probably clear him on the straightaway. That is Dion Burgess now. But then ahead of them, you'll have Xiao Pino, Christian Laurent, and Pietro Brizzo, who are all going to be lap traffic before this race is concluded.
And we have to see too one thing that we haven't really talked about it yet. As it is right now, actually it is ahead Hugo Luis. Hugo Luis fighting for second place right now on the championship, you know what I mean? Because Atsi it's in third, and Atsi wants to make sure that Atsi wants to for sure pass Jake's Chargers, because he passed Jake's and finish in second place. Atsi gets much closer in the points for second place on the championship from Hugo Luis.
Yep, and that gap right now is 1 second on the racetrack. I'm still thinking that it would be very close to the end of this race, because Sturgis, of course, as I say, is sublime in a straight line here. And what I'll do the next time they come down into turn number 11, I'll keep an eye out on their speed trap times to see just who is faster in a straight line. That gap now down into 7 tenths of a second, and actually Sturgis clipped the curve on the inside of turn number 4 just a little bit, which helped Kirchhoff gain another tenth of a second as they come down into the S section of the racetrack once again. But this battle is incredibly interesting, and right now they've got Dion Burgess ahead of them. What this will do is it will help Sturgis in that straight line and that run down into turn number 11 as well. So Sturgis will really have a good advantage on the second, well, this long straightaway. In fact, we'll keep an eye out now as they come down the straightaway. Of course, it goes downhill at the end of it as well. Kirchhoff 7 tenths of a second behind Sturgis. Sturgis is up to 181 miles an hour. He's a full mile an hour faster there than actually Kirchhoff, even though Kirchhoff has the draft.
And Luke McLean is on the transmission of the Hugo Lewis right now as we speak.
Yep, and McLean, it's very close, half a second there to himself and Hugo Luis. And give it a lap, I think he might get past there, Carlos.
Well, he just went a tweak a little bit there, the final straight, finish line, second line. So, but wow, let's see if Hugo Luis is going to make easier, or he's not going to make easier at all. I mean, who knows? I mean, let's see what happened. Hugo Luis tried to go behind the leopard. Wow, the leopard just went away. Oh, wow. Even went off there. He tried to help Hugo for sure, and he ended up crashing. Tried to get away from the battle because he see the battle kind of folding down, you know.
And that was Xiao Pino there, who's really bent up his front wing. I'm not sure whether there's any suspension damage to those cars, but they're now coming to that section of the racetrack once again where Luke McLean is incredibly fast. First of all, into turn 7 and 8.
Yeah, Luke McLean just say thanks to that guy right now.
And as they come down into turn number 9, look at how close McLean is to the rear of him. As they come down into McLean corner, turn number 10. It's that hairpin. Once again, there's lap traffic in play here as well. McLean gets a good run. He's going to try and go to the inside. He's not going to be close enough there. And that lap traffic just helps Hugo Luis out a little bit. Luis going defensive already, looking to cover the inside now. Now McLean's going to come down the inside. Battle for 4th position. McLean still on the inside. They're going to just back up possible there.
Yeah, that's what I said, man. Hugo Luis is not going to make it easier for Luke McLean because we have a few laps to go, and so it's not going to be easy to pass. And you know what? I'm hoping they don't get any contacts, they don't get together, and both it's not going to finish the race, so they have to really be very smart about that. It's only a few laps, especially for Luke McLean. Luke McLean needs more points than Hugo Luis needs because Hugo Luis is basically solid in second. Luke McLean is looking for a good finish, so Luke McLean has to think about that to make a clean pass on Hugo Luis, you know?
Coming down into turn number 4 once again, and McLean is really good coming into turn 10. The issue is, and I've identified this before in this race, is sometimes he's actually a little bit too close to the rear of Luis, and that means he can't get onto the gas when he needs to, and Luis therefore gets the advantage. But less than 10 laps to go in this race. He's still got the battle between Luis and McLean to decide. We've also got the battle between Sturgis and Kirchhoff to decide in this race as well. To give you a quick update, McLean going sideways there. That will hurt him for a lap. But Kirchhoff is now 6 tenths of a second behind Sturgis. He's closing it at the rate of about a 1/10 of a second a lap. But Sturgis has lap traffic ahead of him. He's got Christian Loret and Pierre Ibritsu, who are both ahead of him on the racetrack. They're going to cause a little bit of issues for Sturgis, I think, who doesn't pass him on this straightaway.
Yeah, but the lap guys is being very, very good when they see a battle unfolding. So they being really good at it. So they moving out of the way pretty quickly. So I think it's going to be okay.
I think it will be okay, but there's still a lot to play for. Kirchhoff, though, he doesn't look as likely to get past compared to McLean over Luis, I think. But McLean's fallen back a second now. He's at 1.1 second behind Hugo Luis as they come down into turn number 2 once again.
Yeah, Hugo Luis can breathe and can put his head down now and say, you know what, let me put a couple of hot laps here, see if I can move a little bit away from the draft of Luke McLean. You know?
It's going to be close, though, towards the end of this race. And I'm still thinking that McLean will have at least one more opportunity to try and get that past compared to that over Hugo Luis. But Kirchhoff, as I say, he really is struggling. He's, half a second back. In fact, this is as good as he has been to the rear of Jake Sturgis this entire race. He's half a second back. And I'm going to keep an eye out on these trap speeds once again, because now Sturgis doesn't have any cars ahead of him. It's going to be a lot easier to tell. And Sturgis up to 181 miles an hour. And still, in a straight line, Kirchhoff can only do 180 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's only 1 mile different, but then again, Atsi Kirchhoff wants that second place. because he wants to get close to the championship from Hugo Luis, knowing that Hugo Luis is in 4th place. I mean, usually you don't see Hugo Luis in 4th, 5th place very often, you know?
Indeed, you don't, and it's very, very entertaining to see what's going on between these two drivers. Of course, the only reason why I talk about the speed so much is because of the fact that you've got to keep, those cars with you. And I think right now for Kirchhoff, he's going to have to get a perfect run out of turn 10 if he's going to complete that pass. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But Sturgis is very good for the S section of the racetrack. He might just about be able to keep it.
Well, Sturgis just ran 3/10 of a second faster on this last lap than Hugo Luis, so he's really closing down again.
So down they come once again, down into turn number 9, the critical cordon of the racetrack, before they'll go down into that famous now turn number 10. Keep an eye out on McLean though. He's back within half a second of Hugo Luis, and he's not going to be close enough to make the pass this time by, but it's all about momentum. Give it another 2 laps, I think, as we come on to that lap 60.
Down, wow.
He did. I'd say come down to about lap 60, he'll be once again all over the rear of Hugo Luis. And 2 great battles on the racetrack to decide 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th. But in the meanwhile, Hutu's now got a 28-second gap again over Jake Sturgis. As we're having a look on board with Luke McLean and Carlos, this is where McLean's so good, just getting onto the power and compared that to the car of Hugo Luis.
Yeah, this all to do with setup, the tire pressure in the rear, and of course the speed bumps on the suspension that makes you give the a little bit more gas coming out of the corners too, you know. So this is all matters of setup, you know.
Yeah, and you've got to keep that car working. And I think right now for McLean, he's still got himself a chance to do it.
Wow.
And a couple of spectators having some good fun right now. Hey, look at how close he is there. He almost was able to try and slot like onto the inside on the middle of turn number 4. Now he'll get the run through the S section of the racetrack. He won't try it into this corner here, but still, he gets a good run through here. He then tries to do the cut under as they come down into turn number 9. And this is that portion of the racetrack. Once again, McLean getting a good run through here on the wrong side of the racetrack and a little bit sideways there. That's going to hurt him a little bit. But now he can get onto the gas when he needs to into turn number 10. If he can get out of it here, he might have a chance, and he's not quite close enough.
Not this time.
Not this time indeed. But still, he's looking very strong. And I think he's going to do this until the end of the race, and he might just get lucky at the very end.
Yeah, now with only, let's say, 4 laps to go, it's getting tougher and tougher for you to pass. And Hugo Luis has got his rear view mirror. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I'd rather be Luke McLean than be Hugo Luis right now, because Hugo Luis has to drive fast, but he has to keep his eyes on the mirror. And so it's pretty tough to be fast and look in the mirrors, you know? It's very tough.
It is incredibly tough indeed. And these guys, you know, there's a complete difference between attacking a driver and having to defend from another driver as well. And those guys really show why they are some of the best sim racers in the world. And it's still, the battles continue. To give an update, by the way, Atsi Kirkos falling off behind the rear of Jake Sturgis now, so he's 1.2 seconds back once again. And yeah, it does look as though that a mistake was made there.
Yeah. Luke McLean just went sideways a little bit there on the last 2 corners before the prior to that.
Yep, and that pretty much hurt his run for the next couple of laps. I think it's going to take him a while for him to get back up to the rear of him, but still, we'll keep an eye out on Gregor Hutu. He's now got a 27-second gap over Jake Sturgis with less than 5 laps to go in this race. To run through your top 10, it's Hutu from Sturgis, from Kirchhoff, from Louise, from McLean, from Baroni, from Philo, from Michaels, Cronke and Borcher. They are your top 10 in this race. Still got 13 cars scored on the lead lap. Time is running out though for Luke McLean right now. Kirchhoff has already given up for this race, but for Luke McLean, he's really now only got a couple of chances left, and there's more lap traffic coming into play.
Wow, this is going to be interesting for the last, because now we're closing down the laps. There's only, 3 laps to go now, and we have 2 guys in front of those guys. I hope those guys will see that and say, you know what, man, just go up with your race, because, and wow, and Luke McLean is getting closer and closer and closer, so it's going to be very, wow, it's going to be interesting, man.
So down they come once again, and I tell you what, McLean, is this going to be his best chance right now as they work themselves out of 4 into 5 then 6 before they come down into the S's. This lap traffic might help Luis just a little bit. It might also help McLean as well if Luis can't get onto the gas when he wants to be. The car ahead of him, that's I believe that's Chris already. Went a little bit sideways into the S's there. There's 3 of them now stacked up by less than half a second on the racetrack as they come down into that fabled turn 10 once again. Onto the brakes, McLean comes. Onto the brakes, Luis goes. And look at this, here he goes now, and he tries to get that run off the corner. He just gets a little bit out of the shape there as he gets himself onto the gas. And this is now going to be another lap that Luis has been able to hold off Luke McLean. And that was good driving there by Hugo Luis.
Oh, and he cleaned the traffic and he's doing good. So he's, I'm telling you, man, it's very tough for him to make, keep going as fast as he can and having a guy riding on your transmission and you know that's Luke McLean. So I mean, I would be shaking my pants off, you know, to be honest with you, if I see Luke McLean behind me try to pass me, you know.
Less than 3 laps to go in this race, and for Gregor Hutu, he's kind of like turned the engine down now and he's just driving that car home. But what a drive by Gregor Hutu today.
Well, he's the class of the field for sure. I mean, and he, besides the point, he say, you know what, Hugo Luis won this race last time around, so now it's my turn, Hugo, to win this race. So, and he made it with a very, very, very big impression with about, I mean, look at that, 24 seconds on second place. It's pretty fast. It's pretty good.
Sturgis still in that second position, and say Kirchhoff really has fallen off the pace now. He's 1.7 seconds behind Jake Sturgis, so it looks like Sturgis will be able to keep that second position towards the end of this race. And Luis in that 4th position, however, what a drive by him, and again McLean can't get close enough. And I've noticed actually that Luis has altered his line into turn 10 the previous couple of laps just to make life more difficult for Luke McLean.
Yeah, well, he's making his car much wider, you know. So he's making his car very wider now. So you know what? If you wanna pass me, but my car is wider now, so it's gonna be tough. You know?
And then behind him, Rocco Baroni in that 6th position, Mo Garfido 7th, Stephen Michaels in 8th, Martin Conke 9th, and Andre Borcher running out your top 10. Something's happened to Ben Cornet because he's falling down the field now. He's scored in 14th position. So what was a good day is all gone wrong now for Ben Cornet. So shame for him, but still, Fido, a good drive by him and a good drive by Baroni as well.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to him because I even forgot about him right now because we are looking at a couple laps to go here with Hugo Luis and Luke McLean, but I was wondering what happened to Ben Cornet, you know? Both of them switching there. Oh, wow.
And this is going
to racing hard right now. I bet you those guys are sweating there, man. I bet you those guys are sweating in their cockpits. You know, they were sweating. I mean, for sure.
So this is the penultimate chance now for McLean. He's not going to be close enough this time by unless he gets a mammoth run out of turn number 10. He's nowhere near close enough this time by to make that run over Hugo Luis. I say that actually he does get a good run, but not quite close enough to the rear of Luis as they come onto that back straightaway for the penultimate time. Meanwhile, the white flag is in hand for Gregor Hutu. He has one more lap to go and he's already working himself down into turn number 4 on this racetrack. And Gregor Hutu, this really will really show the world once again that he really is one of the best sim racers in the world, and then prove that championship lead again as well over Hugo Luis. And for Luis now for the rest of the season, try and take points from Gregor Hutu is going to be almost impossible.
Yeah, now I think Hugo Luis at this point he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to settle for second here again, and just make sure that I'll get the second place because Atsi finish ahead of Hugo Luis at this racetrack, and we still have a few good races to go, and so heads down to Hugo Luis and to say, you know what, let's go next race, you know.
Down into turn 11, and meanwhile, for the meantime, for Gregor Hutu, we'll go back to the Luis McLean situation in just a moment, but down into turn number 12, turn 13, turn number 14 for the final time for Gregor Hutu. He didn't race 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis, but he comes back and he dominates here at Twin Ring Motegi. Gregor Hutu is victorious in Japan, taking victory over Jake Sturgis, which will be over 20 seconds on the racetrack. Sturgis is down into 11 for the final time, with Kirkhoff behind him. This is the important part. McLean is not close enough to the rear of Hugo Luis as they come down into 11 for the final time. He's going to try it. He's not going to be close enough.
Wow.
But McLean didn't get the job done there over Hugo Luis. That'll be a tiny bit of retribution there for the Team Redline driver. Sturgis comes home second. Kirkhoff comes home third. Luis comes home fourth. And Luke McLean has to settle for fifth position in the race.
Even though it was a really good result for Luke McLean, it was very entertaining. I mean, people that's watching this race, I mean, how good that you want. I mean, this is the best race. I don't know, this is probably one of the best races that I haven't seen here. And those guys put up a show every time they come to the racetrack. The level of the fields, Gregor Hood, Jake Sturgis, Atsi, Hugo Luis, Luke McLean, all those guys, Mogar Firro, I mean, Stephen Michael, Martin Conke. I mean, look at those names. It's beautiful to watch a race at that level, you know?
So, Hutu takes victory here. We're just waiting for the last of the guys to come past the start-finish line. The last guy in the lead lap is Pablo Lopez. He comes past the start-finish line in the 13th position there in his Radical Steel Series car. That will really help his championship to stay within the top 25. We'll keep you an update on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, to run through your top 10, it is Gregor Hutu claiming victory by 22 seconds over Jake Sturgis. Atzi Kirkhoff third, Hugo Luis fourth, Luke McLean fifth, Rocco Barone sixth, Mogar Philo seventh, Stephen Michaels in eighth, Martin Conke in ninth. Andre Borcher rounds out your top 10. Three of the cars finish on the lead lap: Paul Ilbrink, Oli Pacara, Pablo Lopez, and then cars scored one lap down: Ben Cornette, Piero Britsu, Dion Burgess, Miguel Martin, Christian Laurent, and Marcus Caton, with Wes Richards scored 2 laps down. To run through your retirees, you have out of the race Xiao Pino. He was the last person to retire, and of course we saw that as you're trying to let lap traffic go past. Jeremy Bootley, Martin Patilla, Fulvio Barazzini, Andrew Sakam, Matthias Egger, Troy Schultz, Richie Stanaway, Yudan Arumi, Fabio De Carme, Ilka Hapada, Daniel Lopez, Timo Rievenen, all out of the race.
It's too bad for the Japanese driver that, you know, on his own track and he didn't make the race into the finish. I bet he's pulling his head right now. I mean, and it's like, wow, man, why I didn't finish my own home race, you know? It would be very good to have a good result for Ande Narumi, which is a very, very fast driver, you know?
But of course, for all of these drivers, they'll have one bad race, then what they do in the next race, they'll just have to bounce back and try to get himself a good finish. And it's been a good season up until this point for Yuda Narumi, so I don't think he'll be too disheartened at all, really.
Yeah, congrats, man. Yeah, see it.
So then, who do you think's the driver of the race? And meanwhile,
wow, man, I think Luke McLean did really, really good today, and he was very fast. He had to do a stop and go because of the problem that he has on Indianapolis, and he came up in fifth position. It's actually very, 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 very impressive, you know.
Incredibly is impressive. My driver of the race, however, I am going to have to give it to Jake Sturgis. I mean, I know that, you know, he's normally a good racer anyway, but to finish ahead of Atzi Kirkhoff the way he did, and to be as consistent as he's been all race long, I think it's been a great drive by him. But also, I agree, McLean, a great driver. Good drive once again by Paycheck, getting himself into the top 15 once again. As I say, that will really help in his charge to try and keep himself in the top 25 in the championship. So, it's still a lot to play for. And we've still got a lot more to talk about. We've got interviews coming up in a couple of minutes as well. But overall, been a very interesting race here today.
Oh, definitely, most definitely. It's very entertaining. Gregor Hutu is I mean, that's why his name is Gregor Hutu. He's just fantastic. He's very fast. He's a guy that don't make mistakes, and he did everything right today. He was very fast, putting 22 seconds on the second place, so that's very impressive.
Very impressive indeed. As I say, as soon as we get a confirmation of the championship standings, we will let you know how it stands after 12 races of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Don't forget, of course, we've still got 4 rounds of the championship remaining. 2 weeks' time, we'll be at Circuit Park Zandvoort, and then we'll be making our second trip to Interlagos this season. We'll also make a second trip to Suzuka, before the last race of the season taking place at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, which will conclude the coverage of the World Championship Series for 2013. What this win really does now, you talked about it earlier, for Hugo Louise, it's now going to have to be a change of mindset, because Ati Kirchhoff is closing up that gap to him in the championship for second, and no longer can Louise be thinking about who to and that first position, but now he's got to think about trying to at least keep second in that championship picture.
Yeah, I mean, so it's it's pretty close for a lot of guys in the championship, but the most important, the guys who's going to finish ahead of 25th position, and I think Pablo Lopes now finishing 13. He's going to make himself away ahead a little bit. Paul will bring, of course, with those good results too. He's going to move ahead a little bit. Let's see for the next race and who's going to be on the top 25, because it's going to be those people back there. They're going to be fighting like they winning the championship. You know, it's like they fighting for 25th position, but they're going to race like they winning the championship. You know.
Well, yeah, it's always one of the most interesting parts at the end of the year, of course. By the time we come to the last race of the championship, Gregor Husu might have won the championship. There might have been a huge turnaround, and all of a sudden, it could be Hugo Louise winning the championship. But that battle for 25th, we won't know what it is, literally, until they cross the line at the end of the race. And everyone's doing all the mathematics to let the guys know whether they're in the World Championship Series for next year, or whether they're going to have to qualify through the Eisen.com Pro Series of road racing. And you have a look, for example, as I say, coming into this race, you had drivers like David Decott, Miguel Martin, Dion Verges, Alexei Siakola, and then also Marcus Catan, Timo Even, and Christian Laurent, Ben Cornette, Pablo Lopez, all within touching distance of each other. And then you have a look at the standings today. You know, Pablo Lopez was ahead of a lot of those drivers, so that might help him out a little bit. Of course, Pablo Lopez, one of, by far, the most popular drivers in the WCS. Really looking as though he's got himself some form back in the late stages of the year.
Oh yeah, Pablo Lopes is always entertaining to watch, and I watch always his videos, and when he put the GoPro videos on, and it's very interesting, and it's a pleasure too, if you look, because a lot of people think how those guys doing the races. I mean, there's a lot of people around that watch the Gregor Hutus and all those guys, those big name guys, and they imagine how those guys do it at home. And Pablo shows all that to all the viewers. Say, you know what, just watch this my whole race in car cam. I mean, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to see that, you know. It is very nice.
We'll have an interview with the guy who came home in second position, Jake Sturgis, in just a moment. But first of all, Mo Garfido, it's been a very interesting race for you here today, coming home in the 7th position in that number 27 machine after starting in 10th spot overall, and it's been a very close race here today.
Hello Will, hello for the guys here, and for everyone that's watching this broadcast. It was a thrilling race, plenty of fights, although this track is very difficult to overtake. I got a very busy race and a very good result on my way to try to secure a top 10 result this season. And I had a good car for this round, but nothing close to the red line car. That was just incredible. You could see by the fastest laps of the race how faster they were comparing with the rest of the field. So they did a very impressive job. Too bad Hugo didn't get a fast car for this round, and he came only on 4th position. But for me, it was an excellent result. The guys I'm fighting with for the 10th position on standings didn't get a good finish here. And let's see if I can go to my objective this season.
So, a good race for you with 4 races left to go, of course. In 2 weeks' time, we have the new tyre, the NTM V5, coming along, which a lot of the drivers are hoping will make a big difference to the way the racing works. Are you looking forward to this change?
Of course, right now the FW31 on my racing suffers on slow speed corners. It's a bit twitchy, and with this latest physics, it's not so fun car to drive. So we are all looking forward for this update, and we hope these bring different strategies for the race and make the races more exciting for the viewers.
And I believe that Carlos is now going to have a word with you in Portuguese.
Yeah, Mogar, excelente a sua atuação hoje aqui. Como você já comentou aqui em inglês, e vamos perguntar outra vez. Você acabou sólido em sétimo lugar. Você vai ficar tranquilo em décimo no campeonato. Fala para o pessoal que está escutando como é que foi sua corrida, como é que estava o carro, e porque estava a corrida estava muito cheia de pessoal disputando mesmo posições em toda quanto é posição. O que você acha? E conta também da primeira curva, porque muita gente bateu na primeira curva. Você saiu limpo nessa, me fala aí como é que foi tudo isso.
Bom, Carlos, a corrida foi bastante intensa, bastante disputa de posição na pista. Essa pista é muito difícil de passar, mas estava todo mundo muito junto, qualquer erro podia ser fatal. Eu dei alguma sorte na largada, eu vi que dois carros estavam se aproximando e iriam bater. Eu tirei um pouco o pé e joguei para o lado, num espaço que tinha. Com isso eu consegui escapar da confusão. E isso tudo acontece muito rápido. Eu dei sorte de ter um espaço para eu jogar meu carro para o lado. E depois disso foi uma corrida complicada. Essa pista é uma pista difícil de guiar, muita curva de baixa velocidade. Esse carro a física atual torna o carro enjoado em curva de baixa. Mas assim, eu agora consegui, acho que uma folguinha de 15 pontos para a 10ª posição. Estou atrás do McLean, que fez uma coisa espetacular hoje. E vamos ver se eu consigo garantir. Ainda tem 4 corridas e tem muito chão pela frente, muito ponto a ser disputado. E eu vou lutar por cada pontinho que eu puder fazer.
E qual a sua expectativa agora, Mogar, para a próxima corrida, que todos os pilotos estão comentando, que vai sair o pneu novo, que é a versão 5 do pneu novo, e o carro automaticamente vai melhorar. Quais são as expectativas para a próxima corrida? Você vai ter que praticar muito, todo mundo, logicamente, vai ter que praticar muito com o carro, porque vai ter um pneu novo, o carro vai estar diferente. Como é que você vê isso, essa mudança agora?
Acho que é uma mudança positiva. Ninguém está gostando muito de dirigir o carro do jeito que está. A gente espera que essas alterações tragam uma mudança nas estratégias e também que o carro fique um pouco mais preso em curva de baixa, deixando o carro mais amigável, né? E também que o carro puna um pouco mais quem distraciona, quem abusa dos pneus. Vamos ver. Realmente só a hora que lançarem, botando o carro na pista, a gente vai saber para que direção está caminhando, mas eu estou otimista.
Obrigado, Mogar. Will, take over.
Thank you very much, Mogar Philo. Now we're going to talk to the guy who came home in the 2nd position in the race, Jake Sturgis, in that Inex racing car. And Jake, you brought that number 3 car home in 2nd position. You didn't have anything from Gregor today, but you were able to hold a factory towards the end of the race.
Yeah, Gregor was on the 2-stop strategy today, and he just took off at the start. Even if I was on a 2-stop, I don't think I had anything for him at all. Him and Luke were just in a total another league today, and if Luke didn't get that penalty, he definitely would have been 2nd.
But, I mean, 2nd position overall in that Inex racing machine, it's a good, strong finish. I mean, I know you've had a bit of an up and down last month, really, the last round at Spa and then Indianapolis as well. So, overall, it's got to be a good way to bounce back, surely.
Yeah, after the last race, having to start in the pits 2 laps down, this is a really good comeback. Helps a lot that Fulvio crashed. I'm not sure what happened to him, but in the points it helps. I hate to see him crash, but gained some on him and Steven Michaels, and still too far behind Otse and Gregor and Hugo in front of me, but it's looking pretty good for 4th in the points. And if I keep getting finishes like that, you never know. Maybe even 3rd, but I'm hoping for 4th. And with the new car coming out next week, you have no idea what's going to happen.
You talk about the new car, you talk about the NTMV5. Of course, we've been able to try it out on a couple of cars on iRacing, notably in the Skip Barber and also in the Lotus 49. Big departure from what we have at the moment is expected for the next race at Zandvoort.
Yeah, we're not sure what to expect. It can't get much worse, so hopefully it's a lot better, and the car will be a little more fun to drive, but unfortunately, I seem to have figured out the setup for this build just in time for it to change, and it'll be totally different. But hopefully it's better and can get some good racing for the next... How many races are left? 5 races? Something like that?
4.
4? Oh, even
5.
better.
Yeah, 4.
I have a quick question to Jake. Jake, I was one. I never have the opportunity to ask you that, but I'm gonna ask you this today. You and your brother, you guys live on the same house, and you guys have 2 cockpits set up. How you guys practice, like, or do the race together? How is that? Can you explain to us?
We used to race in the same room, and that was kind of distracting, especially when he'd screw up his qualifying and start swearing. It would really distract me, so he moved his Obuto cockpit up to the upstairs, and now I don't have to listen to him. And today he didn't feel like racing. He just woke up 3 minutes before the race started, so he didn't want to race today, but it's no longer a distraction, but we can't even talk to each other, so we go on TeamSpeak to talk to each other from 20 feet away. It's kind of ridiculous, but...
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just because maybe a lot of people maybe ask themselves, well, they both brothers, so how they do it, you know? That's pretty cool, very well.
I'm actually waiting for the day personally where one Sturgis takes out the other Sturgis, and it'll be interesting. I'll tell you what, we need to get a webcam in the house at that particular moment in time. But Jake, 4 rounds left of the season. You talked about your aims. You looking forward to it as we head over to Zandvoort?
Yeah, Zandvoort's one of my better tracks. It's only 29 pit stalls, I believe, so some people might be unhappy that they don't get another race, but it's a good track. It's not the best for passing, but it's a really fun track to drive on, and with the new car, the new build coming out, hopefully it's not too different, so we gotta redo our whole setup, but you never know, it'll probably be quite different. And I just want to thank my team, NX Racing, for all the help, and a couple of them didn't make the race today. I think Simon Cattell slept in or something. Still haven't heard from him. But Jason Lovett wasn't there, and my brother PJ wasn't there, and Enzo wasn't there, so it was just me and Timu today, and Timu wrecked on the first lap, so to come home second was a really good result for the team.
An up and down day for INX Racing. The number 3 machine, Jake Sturgis coming home in the 2nd position. Going to talk to Pablo Lopez now. And Pablo, you really seem to be able to have some good luck at the start of the races this season, especially the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, my Grand Theft Auto skills helped me to avoid Gregs in front. I don't know. I'm glad I did pass through the mayhem in these last races, and that gave me 10 positions in the grid after the first lap. And well, my pace wasn't the best, and the car wasn't the best as well. But I did suffer a bit from oversteer and a gully spin, and finally, well, I settled behind Paul, and my race was that. Watching Paul back and forth all the race, no more.
You talk about the race being good here today, another top 15 finish, and importantly, that moves you closer and closer to that elusive 25th position. You're now at 27th in the standings with 97 points, and you are now just 2 points away from the 25th position, which is currently shared between David Decour and Ben Cornett. But it's still going to be incredibly interesting to see over the next 4 rounds who will get into that position, especially drivers like Simon Cattell, Marcus Gatton, Dion Verge is getting closer and closer to that drop zone. Do you think that you can still get yourself into the top 25?
Well, doing this kind of races results, I think so, because my goal is to be in front of Ben, Marcus, and Dion at least, maybe as well Miguel Martin and Jason Lovett in the next races. But well, I hope so.
You hope so. And with 4 rounds to go, you've got Zandvoort, you've got Montreal, you've got Suzuka, and you've got Interlagos in no particular order as well. Which of those 4 are you looking forward to the most?
Montreal and Suzuka. I don't really like Zandvoort to drive this modern F1 car. It's a bit of a, well, we can tell it's our street circuit. But yeah, I'm looking forward more for Montreal to see how I'll perform in a new circuit.
Gonna hand it back over to Carlos, who's gonna have a chat with you in Portuguese.
Hey, Pablo. Pablecito.
Brincadeira.
Como está, Pablo? Pablo, como é que foi sua corrida hoje? E fala, tem outra coisa também que nós gostaríamos que você pudesse explicar um pouco, você e o Mogar também, se o Mogar puder falar uma palavrinha, é que a gente esqueceu, mas agora tá a troca do tempo, né? O tempo está mudando, the weather change. Então, a troca da temperatura está fazendo diferença na corrida?
A temperatura no simulador ou a temperatura no mundo?
Não, a temperatura do simulador, porque agora tá diferente do que é sempre, não é?
Sim, também temos vento, wind.
Sim, mas e como está? Está muito diferente ou não está muito diferente do que era antes?
Un pouco, sí, porque, vamos a ver, non temos o mesmo coche de antes tampouco. A verdade é que eu paso mal conducindo ahora mesmo.
Ô Mogai, e você, a sua opinião a respeito das temperaturas agora?
Por enquanto não está fazendo diferença, mas só o fato de você ter um horário diferente na corrida, né, onde você pode correr de tarde ou de dia, você não tem mais aquela coisa de pegar uma sombra como referência de frenagem. Então você tem que estar muito mais atento a outros pontos de frenagem e espero que em breve a gente tenha clima variável de fato na série.
Muito obrigado e there we go, Will. Take over.
Well, I think that pretty much sums up our coverage of the day. Very quickly, we'll run through the top 10 in the championship coming out of this, the 12th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And of course, in 2 weeks' time, we head over to Zandvoort. But your championship standings are: Hutu now has 500 points, Hugo Louise 393 points, and the gap is back over 100 points between the Finn and Hugo Louise in that My 3ID machine. Kirchhoff now just 43 points behind Hugo Louise in the championship. Jake Sturgis in 4th. Fulvio Balazzini 5th. Stephen Michael 6th. Martin Patila in 7th. Martin Crankate in 8th. Tim McLean in 9th. And then Mogar Philo round out your top 10 in the championship. 2 weeks' time, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series returns at Circuit Park Zandvoort. Glacier TV will be back for that race, as well as, of course, iRacing Brazil, bringing you all the action of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series in Portuguese, as well as the iRacing NASCAR World Championship Series as well. So, don't forget, for more information, head over to wcs.iracing.com. Alternatively, head over to iRacingBrazil.com.br for all your Brazilian iRacing needs. For myself, Will Vincent, from Rafael Sank and Carlos Passos, we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
From Team Targets. All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
I want to be Silvestro and hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. I want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun, enjoy the racing, take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden, and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great, cool league.
Mandar um abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Cássio Neves. Fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil!